Depends on what's on top.
I started it. Should, yeah.
Yeah, I got a
Kicking
copy
on.
of this from you when I was in here yesterday.
We'll call this meeting of the Fort Scott City Commission for March 7th, 2023 to order. Start with roll call, please.
Josh Jones.
Here.
Tim Van Hookey.
Here.
Edwin Wolha.
Here.
Katie Harrington.
Here.
Matthew Wells.
Here. If you will, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We now invite Reagan Wells to come and pray for us.
Like that? Awesome. All right, then. I thank you, Lord, starting off with the opportunity to come here and pray tonight. And we thank you for the fact that any of us get to be here at all. I pray that tonight you will guide each and every person in this room with their decision making in the ways that you would have them make these decisions, and that they take that with them into the rest of this week and into life generally, being guided by your hand in the things that they will do for this city and the people in it, so that we may continue to live happily and prosper. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay.
Does anyone have any items they need to add to the agenda for this evening? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda the way it is.
I move to approve the agenda the way it is currently written.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Wolha.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Next item is the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes and of the appropriation ordinance. Does anyone have any questions about either of those? If not, I'd consider a motion.
I move to accept the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
Edwin Wolha.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Next item is the public comments. Did we have anyone sign up this evening, Lisa? We will move on to old business. That would be the city manager contract. Did everyone get a chance to look over the latest one that was sent to us?
Yes. And I would move to approve the proposed city contract for Brad Mack, and thereby making him the city manager.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Katie Harrington.
No.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Wolha.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Congratulations, Brad.
Get ready to get to work.
Get ready. I was going to tell him he's got it. Slow down a little bit.
No. We took it easy on him up till now. Our appearances this evening, we have Mike Miles with the fire department on the retention presentation.
Good evening.
Sweet.
Could have had that done for him.
Let our IT guy help you. Oh, never mind.
The rest of you would left.
Sorry. Good.
Were you sweating there, Brad, thinking that he wasn't?
All right. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, guys. I know most of you. I've worked with several of you, but Mr. Wolhoff, did I say that right? Nice to meet you. I'm Mike. I'm with the Fort Scott Fire Department. I have a presentation I want to present to you guys. I've been working with the fire chief and the city manager. This has been ongoing for about a year, and I just wanted to, I'll go through this presentation and kind of let you guys know what we've been dealing with down at the station for quite some time. So, little bit of history. The Fort Scott Fire Department, it consists of 12 full-time firefighters, one fire chief, one deputy chief, which is myself, and then firefighter reserves. And what those are is our kind of our recruit guys, our part-time people that we like to bring in that eventually become full-time. Unfortunately, over the last 3 to 4 years, we have had 0 part-time employees. We operate out of 2 stations. One is at 1604 National. The other one is at 23 South Franklin. We currently have 3 engines, 1 tower, 1 rescue, and we operate an ambulance for Bourbon County EMS as the 3rd out. And that rescue and ambulance operates countywide. So what that means is we run to Lynn County, Allen County, Nevada or Missouri line, and then Crawford County. So the mission of the Fort Scott Fire Department, it's been the same since 1891, is to protect life and property by providing the highest level of service. I want to share a few things, stats with you, emergency calls over the last few years. We'll go to the very bottom. In 2019, we ended the year with an average of 1,296 calls for service. That was 3.55 a day. In 2020, we ended the year with 1329. The numbers were altered due to limited COVID response. At the time, we didn't know what we were dealing with COVID, so we didn't want to contract that. So we stopped going with the ambulance runs to nursing homes and stuff like that, so we didn't get contaminated with it. So our numbers were altered. We didn't go to probably about 80 more calls would be that year, or even higher due to the nature of the sickness that was going on. There were several calls we missed out. But we ended with 3.55 in 2020. In 2021, we ended the year with 1,483, which increased our average of calls to 4 calls a day. And then finally, last year, our call volume was 1,548 calls for service, and that's an average of 4.2. So steadily increasing over the last few years. Fire department upgrades. We 2 years ago, we were able to finance locally and replace a 27-year-old engine. We were fortunate enough to get a CBDG grant to replace our new ladder truck, which is a tower. That was $680,000 we were rewarded. We received grants for all new MSA air packs. I believe in the ballpark that was $50,000 to upgrade our 20-year-old air packs that were out of their lifespan. So we have all new MSA air packs. And finally, when Mercy closed down, they gave us a grant for all new battery operated extrication tools. That was in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000. So roughly over the last 4 years, we've received over $750,000 in grants to upgrade our equipment. So this brings me to why am I here? What is Fort Scott's fire department's major challenge? To hit you with a fire pun, we're currently battling a fire that we just can't get under control. We've been battling it with a defensive strategy, and we've yet to make an offensive attack. That's a direct quote. I provided a resource when asked what our department's major issue was. Fort Scott Fire Department's major challenge, recruitment and retention.
When asked about why such a high rate of turnover, every exit interview was the same. Fire department pay, unfortunately. Members love the job, they love the city, love the atmosphere, but could just not financially afford to do the job anymore. We lose very well trained and great employees who were vital to the department's future, and right now we're unable to replace those members with qualified candidates. Problems with that? High turnover rate. We're investing into employees' training needs only to see them seek higher pay elsewhere. We have lost several key members to higher paying jobs that were the future of the fire department. And I'm talking people that would be leaders as our lieutenants, our captains, our next wave of admin chiefs, and potentially fire chiefs. Dave's got some information, but our budget over the last few years has been severely cut, causing hardships on wages and growth for the department. Future, scary. Honestly, I feel we're 1 to 2 members away currently from leaving, of causing a major decision. What is Fort Scott Fire Department's starting wage to be a firefighter? $10 an hour. And if you can look on the left, that's our guys on an active structure fire this year, cutting a hole in the roof with fire underneath them. We run car wrecks where we cut victims out of a car. Major fire, unfortunately, the St. Mary's fire we had this year, we're on major fires. And then finally, we run an ambulance to where we're putting ourselves at risk for, contaminants and sickness as well. And that's starting wage at $10 an hour. Here's a graph I put together. You can see on the left side, it starts at 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, $17. And these are all Southeast Kansas towns that I tried to compare us to. If you look on our graph over there, it says Fort Scott. Currently, with the wage ordinance that was increased, I believe 6 months to a year ago, we went up to $10. But when I started in 2006, I got hired on at $7.75, and then in 2008 they bumped it to $8.64, and we stayed there for 14 years up until this time last year. It was very hard to recruit people for $8.64. Parsons, this graph has changed. Parsons did go up. They're just above 13. Iola is offering 15 to 16 an hour. And Nevada is currently sitting at 14.10, so their graph went up. Coffeyville's at 13. Independence is at 13. And the biggest thing on this graph is that is all entry-level base pay. That's hiring them off the street, potentially with no training. So Fort Scott Fire Department's pay discrepancies. The majority of our department members are consistently at the bottom of any pay scale that we have structured. And that's from a firefighter, firefighter EMT, firefighter paramedic, lieutenant, or a captain. They're all at the bottom of that scale or close to it. Nobody's halfway up it. Currently, we do not have steps or tiers for raises. Promotion is the only time for advancement. And so it's kind of cutthroat. In my experience, we go out, we want to be better. We want to better ourselves to provide a quality service. So we go out and we get all these certifications to become officers on the department. So when that time comes, we can put our name in the hat and promote up. But unfortunately, over the time of you're getting these certifications, we were never compensated or rewarded for it. What that means is we're the lowest paid department in Southeast Kansas by a minimum of $3 to $4 on just an initial hire. If you wanted to compare our trained and experienced firefighters, we're $5 to $6 lower an hour. From the graph, we're 20 years behind on the wage ordinance I pulled. Parsons was $10.80 in 2012, and they just redid their ordinance. I believe last year's was on my paperwork. So their 12 years they just redid theirs 12 years. So we're still 12 years behind, potentially behind where Parsons was at 1080, and we're just starting at 10. Unfortunately, we're a system of only starting pay at the bottom of pay scales for the last 20 years. When we hire somebody in, we can't start them any higher because we got guys that have been there 5, 10, 15 years that aren't that high. So we're forced to start people so low. And most new hires, they want more money than the current employees are making, which causes a huge wage gap. Most members in the entry level of firefighters make $3 to $4 less than the surrounding cities. That's the guys we have fortunate enough to have that have been here 1 to 2 years. We have members with 5 to 10 years of experience making less than other departments' initial hires. Every one of our members are highly trained and more certifications than any entry-level firefighters to make less. Officers, which are lieutenants and captains, and those are the guys running each station. Captain oversees his whole crew members of 3 guys, and the lieutenant runs either one station, station 2 or station 1. The captains and lieutenants revolve, so they're on a truck and they manage those guys in a fire scene. But who've had years of experience and highly trained make $4 to $6 less than surrounding towns. Some of our members who serve as officers have 15 plus of years, are at a lower end of the pay scales and make what other towns start their firefighters at. This causes a domino effect when people leave, causes low morale, other people to begin looking to changing jobs and seeking higher pay. We have lost many great employees to this problem. We're currently unable to attract people to work for the fire department due to low pay. We're going on 2 years without any quality candidates, and this has been a steady trend, and the reason behind it came directly from the applicants is you just don't pay enough. When we do get potential good candidates to join our team, we simply cannot offer a competitive starting wage or a tiered wage structure that is appealing enough for them to join our department. So again, some major issues. Over the last 7 years, we've lost 8 employees to higher paying jobs. And if you add all those 8 employees together, I mean, you'd be at probably 70 to 80 years of experience that we can't replace. We can't replace them with somebody to come in and do the job, continue to do the job at a high level. The major concern behind that is safety and liability. We're at the threshold of limiting our operations due to untrained personnel and lack of experience. We're forcing captains, lieutenants, myself, the fire chief to do their job and the jobs of firefighters, and it causes a major concern for the entire firefighting operation. With the constant turnover rate we're facing due to the low pay, this not only causes a major safety concern amongst all members on an emergency scene, it's a major blow to the department morale. Guys are beginning to get frustrated because they are forced to work extra shifts to maintain minimum staffing while continuing to train a new person only to see them leave shortly after being hired. It's becoming a vicious cycle, and I fear for a potential burnout amongst the members. We are unable to maintain 3 strong crews at this time to operate on a daily basis because of the pay issue. Dave and I have been covering from 8 to 5, 7 to 5, until another full-time member is able to pick up that shift from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. There's times we've had to work 24-hour shifts when we're admin 8 to 5, and I have no problem doing that at all. So don't take that as what I'm saying. And then at this rate, if we lose any more tenured employees, the service for Fort Scott Fire Department provides will unfortunately decline. So firefighters work 24 hours on and 48 hours off, but they're on call 365 days out of the year. So if I got 2 shifts that are off today and tomorrow, if we have a fire, they're coming in. We get a major car wreck in the county and both the rescue truck and the ambulance go out. We have to do a call back and call those guys in to come cover the station and protect the city. So your average 40-hour work week person during the year works 2,080 hours. A firefighter works 10 days a month, which is equal to 2,880 hours. So we're working 800 more hours in comparison to a 40-hour work week person. Work average right now is 56 hours a week on our traditional scheduling, but currently we have got members averaging 65 hours because of staffing issue. We work weekends, holidays, birthdays, anniversaries. If we're scheduled, we work it. We don't get those days off. Our call volume's at an all-time high and increasing, and we're running more calls throughout the night than we ever have. So in conclusion, I want to thank you commissioners, Brad Matkin and Fire Chief Bruner, for allowing me the opportunity to shed some light on this issue. Man, we have an amazing fire department that protects the city of Fort Scott. We truly have some of the most dedicated and unselfish first responders you could ask for. We have been blessed throughout the past few years on upgrades in equipment and apparatus. However, the time is now to invest in our employees. These guys continue to answer the call no matter what it is, what is thrown at them, and they do it relentlessly. I don't know exactly where we go from here. I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying. I'm trying to lead by example and move the department forward. I want the department to continue to be a strong and dedicated place to protect and serve this community. I fear if we do not focus on the task at hand, which is wages, we may have a larger crisis on our hands. We cannot afford to lose any more quality employees who were friends, who were family. We need to take action on this matter and focus on those who give so much to this community, and it's time we have their back. Again, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for allowing me to protect and serve the citizens of Fort Scott, and thank you all for your support of the Fort Scott Fire Department.
Yeah, but I'll say, you know, my 2 years I've been here, I know you. A couple years ago, you put together a pay plan
Yes.
increase,
Mhm.
and so you've put a lot of time and effort into this.
Yeah.
I think in the last 2 years, overall the pay's been bumped some. I think about 15 to 20% increase from firefighters is which is still, you know, we've talked about.
Right.
You know, we've talked about the last couple of years, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
We worked together getting you the ARPA money, the
Right.
bonuses. So, I mean, you know, I've been a proponent of you.
I know you have, and I've
Yeah.
worked with you.
So I just want to let the other people know we've done some good
Yes.
things. Like I said, we've increased firefighters' pay about 20% in the last 2 years.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the problem, you know, where we're at, and they're thankful for anything they get, but now we're getting those guys that have been here 6-7 years, and they're leaving, and the guys that are there, our nucleus is there, they're starting to get panicked. They're starting to worry, like, you know, and then they're seeing they could go to Nevada for $4 more starting out, you know, and it's just we've been so far behind. I know we can't fix it overnight, you know, and I'm just trying to shed some light on where do we go from here? What do we do, you know, as far as the next step? So maybe I can put a little water on the fire for those guys, you know, to let them know that we're trying, we care about them, you know, because $10 an hour, like and I'll backtrack. We haven't had, I've been running the recruitment deal for 3 years, and it's just not been very good. This last go around, I was tickled pink. I had people wanting to do this job for the first time in 3 to 4 years. Good quality candidates I can bring in, but I have to bring them in at the rate I have lieutenants at, and I can't do that. I can't offer them a pay.
Yeah.
So
when I got a lieutenant making $12.50 an hour.
What's the retention rate in some of these other small Southeast Kansas locations that you've shown? Because my experience in working with fire departments in the past and people that I know that have gone through fire department training is that I think, not with all cases, Mike, but I think in some cases, someone can come here like this. We can pay and train them to get all the certifications you want, but their end goal is like the Overland Park Fire Department or the Olathe Fire Department. You know, coming in where because I can tell you to try and get on one of those departments up there, you better have been through a fire training academy and all that, so they can get that here.
Yep.
And in some cases with the full blown intention of, hey, once I've got all these certifications,
yeah, and
I'm going up there.
Right, we've had about 50%, so I'd say 50-50 on our end. You know, some guys were forced to hire in because there's nobody else. And we're like, we got to take them, give us a warm body for a year. We'll try to find the next person. We want local guys. Right now I have local guys that'll come in here. They're going to put 20 years in, and I'm not having this problem. The guys that left, the other 50%, one went to be a sheriff. One went to Allen County to do fireman. One went to government job at the National Cemetery. That would be in my position, you know, down the road. You know, so it's not just Kansas City. We're losing them to other local jobs. They're just like,
sure,
I'm not going to sacrifice my time for $10-12 an hour. I can be with my kids, my weekends, my holidays, and go make $10,000-15,000 more a year, and not have that stress and anxiety. You know what?
I'm not saying this does absolutely. It needs to be addressed. I mean, I appreciate everything you guys do, absolutely, and we want to support you however you can. But what do we do? I mean, when we figure out, what do you figure it cost us from the time a guy gets hired with the number of certifications he can get in his first year here? that he can, or let's say 18 months that he gets knocked out of the way?
The training we send him to?
Yeah.
Gosh. If you add EMT, driver operator, depending what other certifications they go get, you can be $7,000, $8,000, $9,000.
Yeah.
That's just in training.
And
that's not paying them to go to training.
Yeah. That's my concern is I want you to have the best guys here, and I want to be able to retain them as well. But I would be curious to know, in some of these other counties, I mean, let's face it, $13 an hour, $14 an hour, that's not something that's going to keep somebody there for a lifetime either. What their retention fallout has been like.
Right.
And I do appreciate you telling me what the percentage was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said 50%.
Yeah.
Of those guys that are going to get their certifications, and they're going to take that and they're going to run to the bigger departments.
And we know those guys when we interview them.
Yeah.
We're very picky, and so the last several hires, we didn't waste our time on them, and we just kept the position open. Now I got guys that they're done with the factory work and they want to come in and do the job with us.
Yeah.
And I think I can retain them, and they can be there for 20 years.
See, I learned a little
your
bit.
Next wave of people.
I learned a little bit more about this because my niece's boyfriend right now is going through all this to be a firefighter, and he's in a very small town.
Yeah.
Up there, and man, they're paying for everything. But I mean, he's flat set there and said, as soon as I get this certification, man, I'm going to KCMO to see if I can get on board.
That's why we've been so picky on our hires, and unfortunately at times you can't, because you still have to do the job. You get a fire, you got to have 4 guys that show up, and unfortunately on a callback, you get a structure fire in the middle of the night when it's 5 degrees, and we do a callback, and we get 1 guy to show up, and you're frozen in like a popsicle, which one of my crews was not 2-3 weeks ago, because we don't have enough guys to come back in on callback right now. That's a big deal, And I look back when I started, man, it was tooth and nail to get into this place. I was competing with 4 other guys, and all those guys are still here, and we're the guys that are growing this place. And then we had another wave of people that were there fighting to get in. And then that last wave just walked out the door. We don't have that wave. We don't have that future young group of firemen that's going to come up and take this thing over in 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not going to be young forever.
My question for you, what are you doing in like the younger age high school individuals to get them excited for?
So I have a project
I've
I've mentioned to Brad. This is all last year. I've been snowballing a lot of things, but we do go to the recruit thing that they do in April. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I mentioned to Brad is, and I'll present this at another time, but it's called the Junior Fire Recruit Program. It's kind of what Wichita does, in a place in Colorado that I follow. They bring 15 to 18-year-old kids in, 4 or 5 of them, and they train them. They hire them on as a minimum wage, and they train them. You can get them their Fire 1, but they can't work and do the job till they're 18, but you can bring them in and hopefully groom them into being somebody that'll stay. Now obviously everybody with young ambitions, they don't want to be in Fort Scott but we want to select the guys that will. You got a pretty solid group right now that what's there at the station. They're Fort Scott lifers through and through. They're not going anywhere. And what we're looking for is the next few people to the puzzle to complete it, to get us through the next decade. And honestly, with the wages at $10, even $12, it's just to do the job we do.
What's your rate? What's your starting rate on the pay scale?
$10.
I mean,
10 to
the
14.
10 to 14.
Yep, is what the firemen make. And like I said,
So
we have to start them at 10, because I have a firefighter that's been there 10 years. He's making $11 an hour. I have and he's a good fireman, well trained. It's not like he messes up or anything, but well trained. I got a lieutenant that's been there for 7-8 years, and he's making just $1 more than him. So the problem with us, we're so pancaked together, we don't have room to bring anybody in. If these guys were $2 to $3 higher now than where they are, and bring them guys in at $12, and there's no animosity towards them. There's no hard feelings.
What are some of your top end pay? Like, what some of the top people make?
Well, I have a captain that's been there for 30 years, and he just broke $20 on the pay scale for 30 years.
Well, with these concerns, a few months ago, you had come in here and mentioned about expanding the coverage area.
Yep.
I would assume with these concerns here that's why we haven't had that topic brought back in.
There's no way I can ask my guys to do that. There's just no way. Unfortunately, now if I get full staff,
But I mean,
and we're
that
operational,
would have potentially been
We
a
did
source
a- we did do
a source of revenue.
correct. Yeah, we did a survey monkey, and it was about 90% in favor. And there were some 10 people that were just 10% was uneducated on it, didn't realize how it was going to work. That I wanted to get back to this table and present and answer those questions. But
And did you ever get any rough idea of what additional revenue that could potentially drive to the fire department if you had people subscribe to that service in that extended area?
we were potentially thinking 30 to 50,000 if you got an all in.
Yeah.
That's a good chunk, but is it worth that risk of sacrificing what we do for the city? Is what we have to weigh that and balance
Yeah.
it.
You said you had 12 full-time firefighters
Yep.
right now. What's fully staffed to you?
12. We're not full staff. We had
What would be fully staffed?
12
15,
firemen,
16?
Dave and I, which is a chief and a fire chief. So 14. But we just interviewed people. We're looking to hire 2 because I have a captain leaving in October. So I'm going to be down. I'm going to lose all that experience. So we're looking to hire his replacement now, get him trained. So our operations don't falter come October. We got a good chance to hire quality candidates.
Is he retiring or going to a
He's
new
retired.
job?
He's retired. Well,
Okay.
he's 50-some years old. He's served his time.
So how do you? I mean, obviously it's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah, it really
How do you
is.
guys feel about? You said you can't raise them up higher because you have people there. I mean, just speaking realistically, we might have to shrink that gap from one to the next to the next. So if someone gets a $1 bump, it's going to be hard to bump everyone $1.
Oh, I know.
And so, just realistically, I don't want to beat around the bush and say that. I think money-wise, that's probably an area that's got to be looked at. So that gap might shrink to 75 for the next level, up to 50
Yeah.
cents.
Well, unfortunately, that's what happened this last go around when we raised the ordinance. Instead of, if you looked at it, $1.34 is what it went up, $8.64 or $1.36, excuse me, $8.64 to $10. Everybody thought they should just get the $1.36 difference. Well, the low guys got the $1.36, and the guys above them got like here and there, stair step. So it still just shrunk them in, and nobody really rises above anybody else. So it's like I said, it's a 20-year problem. Can't fix it overnight, but I appreciate you guys listening to
You
me.
said
In
how long did you go before you went for the last race? 14 years, 18 years?
2008 to 2022. And I don't know how long it was like I said, when I started, I was at 777, and then it was a year after it went to 864.
Where do you think starting wage should perfect world?
1350.
13 to 14, somewhere in there. In my opinion, we got to compete with Nevada, and they're right next door. You don't have to. You can pay $15 to get all your Kansas certifications transferred to Missouri, and you can go over there for, you can take all your training from KU that we go to, and you can transfer that right to Nevada for $14.10 plus a sign-on bonus. And then I know they have steps, you go get this certification, it's worth this amount, and that's something I want to work on, but it's just but that's the perfect world would be $13, to bring somebody in at that, but everybody else would have to go up $3 an hour.
Well, that's what I was saying. In the perfect world, but
Yeah.
Financially.
Oh, I know.
And I know no one wants to say this, but that's going to be the hardest thing, because you're looking at a 30% increase. And
Yeah.
But I like
I
the
know.
tier. We've talked about the tier before, and I don't
Yeah.
know why. That's not something because
It's just been shot down. Honestly, it's just been shot down by the previous people, and I'll be honest.
Well, and even if we went to those wages, and like I said, I think we do need to find a solution here. And I absolutely appreciate you bringing this in here. But even again, if you bump somebody to $13 and you bump somebody else to $16, and we pay for a ton of certifications, there's still no guarantee, unless they're a lifelong Fort
Yeah.
Scott person and you've selected them, that they're
And
not
those are
going to
the-
jump ship and go somewhere where they can start out at $30 an hour.
Yeah, those are the two that I can promise you from the conversations I've had. If my guys were to get the bump we're discussing and talking about, you ain't gonna hear a peep out of them, and they're also gonna be happy that we're able to bring people in because they work with these guys, you
Yeah.
know. So the people they're staying the night with them, you know. So you want to make sure you got somebody that has your back. running that call and sleeping, in bunk rooms, you want to make sure they're a quality person that you're shacking up with overnight. And, you got to be able to trust some of these people. And
Oh, let's not use that term.
Yeah.
but
I was
you
like,
know what I
well,
mean.
that's-
So,
So
but,
like,
you want quality people to come in here. And like I said, we hold ourselves to a high standard.
Sure.
And the people we need to hire on reflects on all of us.
What is your, well, just from a contingency standpoint? Like I said, I'm not saying we're not going to work on this. I think it does need to be worked on, absolutely. But from a contingency standpoint, I mean, how many reserves do you have?
0.
0? Okay, I thought there was one that was with the county sheriff. That was
He won't work.
He won't work.
Makes more money in the county.
Okay.
I even raised his wages to come work. He won't do it.
Okay.
So
In the interim, I mean, have we looked at supplementing while we resolve this with, I don't know if you call them reserves or volunteers or whatever, or is it too expensive to train them to fill that role? Or we don't have the time and resources. to train
I
new
think that's
people.
probably a HR thing as far as bringing somebody on, and you wouldn't want to volunteer them because I mean, let's be honest, in this day and age, nobody's giving up their time.
What? We are.
I know,
I'm
and I thank all of you guys
I
for
think
that.
we
I
are.
thank you. But unfortunately, the young workforce coming up, that's just what we're running into. But
Yeah.
I remember when I came on, I wasn't wired that way. I wanted to do this job, and I came in and donated several hours of training after hours, 5 to 8 at night. Paul Blue, Dale Bowling, or all those people trained me. That old group trained me to come up, and anybody else is like, well, what do I get out of this?
Yeah, back old school, there were actually people that would be like,
Correct.
when they were trying to get on board a fire department, they'd say, I've always wanted to be a fireman.
Mhm.
You'd say, okay, where are you volunteering at right now? What training? Are you taking an EMT course? Are you doing the things that need to be done to convince us you want to be a part of this organization?
And that's some of the questions we've asked the candidates this last
Sure.
Thursday. We got 2 candidates that do volunteer firefighting from different towns. They've had the experience. So,
and you guys do a great job interacting with the youth.
Yep.
Hopefully building that. I mean, that's one thing that you guys do a real good job.
Yeah.
On the training, and we were talking about this with police the other day, and maybe I'm wrong, but in police, I heard if they work, we go send them off the training, they come back and they only stay for a certain amount of time. The new department has to pay for some of that training. Is that accurate at all? Is that right?
Yes.
So is that the same for firemen?
I don't think we've ever had that. Dave, have we? No.
Okay.
Usually they stay for the time of getting their EMT. They've been there a year, and then they'll find somewhere else to go.
But if they do leave within a year, we get a portion back from the other departments.
I don't know if we've ever asked for that or have
No.
that in our policy because it's not anything we've ever had them sign. But I will be honest, most of the people that have left have came with their EMT, and we haven't had to put them through it. One kid we did, and he ended up not working out, which he did end up paying for his own class. Yeah, no, so it's about 50-50 on that end, on the training side.
Yeah, I would, suggestion, got to have a starting point. So we just keep talking. As you and Bruner, I would say, hey, here's the number we need to be at. Bring it to Brad. Brad brings it to us.
We already
And
have
then-
it.
Yeah.
And we already have it. I mean,
For salaries.
We've met, yeah. We've
So
met,
I would
so we've
like
got it.
everything. So we say, hey, Commissioner, I think we can probably cut a little bit here, to help offset it, but we're going to need to be here or here. It gives us a number instead of us because we don't know.
Yeah, right.
And that way we can come back
Yeah.
and say, hey.
So if I can talk, we've got all that. We've met a few times. We've met with Ben. We know where we can cut. We've got that. If I don't know how I asked for executive session, whatever, but I would like to meet in executive session to show you guys that so we can talk about it while Ben's here and discuss that. And we can do that later.
Sure.
So people.
Yeah.
But and that is a concern with the tearing. I can tell you there's organizations to bring more people in. The problem you have, Mike, and my wife was in a similar situation where they were bringing new people in at almost the same level as what the current employees were being paid. And the people that had been there for 15, 20 years were getting marginal, and the new people that were coming on were getting pretty much 30 to 40% above what these loyal employees had gotten. So it's a very sticky situation and a fine line to walk.
It is.
Because with our existing resources, I mean, I'll be curious to see what you guys have worked up and
Well,
looked at.
that is called a sandwich scale.
Yeah.
And what you find out in business is that sandwich usually goes stale after a while. And that's why you can't have that. You've got to have, from top to bottom, you've got to have some leverage. Because if you want to recruit, and that's what I call it, recruiting. If you want to recruit a good person in, you've got to have some type of leverage. And that's how we've built a really good street department, a really good water department. And that's how we've got to go forward.
Well, and we have a very good fire department.
Very
and what I
good.
would like to see,
Very
and I know you guys are
dedicated.
providing first-class training to these folks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if someone's coming in, especially if we do look at adjusting the pay somehow, we ought to be able to find some type of commitment or contract with that person that says that if they leave within this period of time to go to another fire department, that they owe us
Yeah, and I think
those
that's something we
resources back.
sit down with Bob and Brad. I know there's, what was the department? David went to a training or a seminar, a chief seminar. One of theirs out west, you get your fire gear custom fit to you. You know, you don't want it loose, you don't want it too baggy or too tight. When that guy leaves, if somebody else don't fit it, they ask for that portion of that fire gear back, and that could be up to $3,000 to $4,000 that we're paying in gear to that guy. So
Well,
that's just an example. Of what you're
Yeah,
talking
we
about.
ought to be
just
able
would
to
have
do the
sit
same
down.
thing, though, with certifications and training.
Yep, correct. Yeah,
It-
it's just a matter of
it's-
sitting down with these guys, finding out the
You know,
legal
and
aspect.
whether it's 18 months after training or 24 months after training, you know, then at that point, if he's going to go somewhere else, at least the city's got some type of
A little
benefit
bit of-
out of
yeah.
out of what we funded for
For
that
sure.
individual. So,
Yeah, for sure.
and it is a dedicated role. I'm not saying it's just somebody coming here trying to rip us off, but
Yeah.
it's, to me, it's no different than these college kids that they get a scholarship to go to school to play basketball, and 1 year and I'm out of here.
hmm
You know.
Yeah. Well, we try not to bring employees in like that because we look for the guys that are hometown, that are going to be here, that want to be here. So we really don't have that problem. But now it's just the last 5 years, the pay is really starting to.
Yeah.
We're losing the people we shouldn't have lost.
Okay.
So,
Well, we've got, Brad, or Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, we've got a lot of people on the agenda, so we can
Yeah.
do a session at the end.
That's, yes.
Yeah. I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Do you want Mike in on this? Executive session at the end?
I know Brad has all this information.
I was like, it's gonna be very. Yeah, it'd have to
That's
be.
what it's about.
Is it?
Your statute doesn't cover.
I think we can go back there, and if it's not about employees, certain employees, and then if not, we'll have to come back out. So.
Yes.
All right, next item on the agenda is the Bourbon County CASA requesting a donation.
Hello, I'm Krista Horn, and I'm the Program Director for Bourbon County CASA.
Make sure it's on. Sorry, our mics.
Just make sure you're speaking directly into
Sorry.
the mic.
Sorry. I'm Krista Horn. I'm the Program Director for Bourbon County CASA. Thank you all for letting me come and speak tonight and request a donation and your continued support. But I'd like to start off and talk a little bit about the importance of this program and what a CASA volunteer does. Imagine yourself as a as a child again, and now imagine yourself as a foster child. You've left behind everything familiar to you, your parents, your home, possibly your school, and even brothers and sisters. You're in an unfamiliar place with new adults, and even they keep changing. You have new caseworkers, new foster parents, new teachers, and you never know when they're going to change again. You're lost, scared, alone. You need someone you can trust, and an adult you can count on to be there, to not disappear. That's where a CASA volunteer comes in. A volunteer is dedicated to one child or one sibling group. They're a constant, positive presence, bringing a desperately needed sense of normalcy and calm to children during the most traumatic time of their lives. Each month, CASA volunteers do so much for their kids. They spend time with them, talk to their foster parents, talk to their parents, caseworkers, therapists, teachers, doctors. They research important resources to help the child or the family. And every few months, they share what they've learned with the judge in the court. In the tumultuous and overburdened foster care system, CASA volunteers have sometimes been the only constant enough in a child's life to remember their birthday. They've been the only person the child calls when they're feeling down or even when a new move is coming. That constant, trustworthy adult is so important for children, and your support is so important too. We greatly appreciate the city's commitment to our program. Last year, the city donated $5,000. This has in part allowed us to serve the children of Bourbon County for over 33 years. Last year, volunteers devoted 3,293 hours to their CASA child and drove over 10,950 miles to make sure they saw their children no matter where they were placed. We ask that you continue your financial support. Consider continuing your financial support of Bourbon County CASA because we cannot do this work alone. And I thank you for your consideration of this request.
Yeah, so I know last year we gave you 5,000, we came back and asked for another 5. We said we'd look at the funding, and so I just had to pull, we have money in there we haven't used, 57,000, so.
Your mic's off.
And so, I mean, I would suggest that we actually up it a little bit this year since we didn't last year and there was plenty of money in there, to 7,500. This is one of the few programs that actually utilizes this fund that can only be used for a certain, I mean, I don't know how many requests we actually have for it throughout the year. Maybe one, this might be the only one that we can use for this fund. So, I would love for the commission to entertain actually giving them 7,500 this year out of that fund.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
What is that fund called?
The special alcohol fund.
Do we also give to the school for that?
Yeah, the
too?
school we get 1,000 a year is what we give. So they're the only 2 things I think that we've given out of
that one.
And CASA's been around for, you guys been around for
33 years.
Should go to their events, Josh. They would
It
like
was
your
the
money.
same time as
They
I
would
would've
like
last
your
year,
money.
so.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate it so much.
Next on our agenda, we have the Healthy Bourbon County Action Team update for Center of Economic Growth. Jody Hayner, Rachel Carpenter, and Daisha Clark.
We have sent in a presentation. Is there a way to put that on the screen? Is it printed? It's not going to be on the screen. Is that my understanding? Okay. I'm Jody Hayner, and I am the president and CEO of the Healthy Bourbon County Action Team. So on the second slide that you guys have in your hands there, and sorry for the crowd here for not being able to see it. We were under the impression if we sent it in early, it would be shown on the TV. The board is made up of individuals who are either in position of authority or have the ability to influence policy change. Our mission since 2016 has been to increase access to physical activity, healthy food, promote tobacco cessation, enhance quality of life, and encourage economic growth. On your third slide there, you can see that over the last 2 years, since we've been in inception since 2016, of course, with the first $500,000 grant that we got from Blue Cross Blue Shield. But just the last 2 years, we've been able to bring in $1.27 million into the community through either contracts or grant opportunities. We have also been the fiscal agent for the splash pad. That's not a part of that $1.27 million. We have out of that too, we will be giving $200,000 to Bourbon County through our Blue Cross Blue Shield Pathways grant. We received our TEFI grant for Mapleton and Bronson. We are not charging an administration fee for that either. And we will be, through our Patterson Family Foundation grant, be giving out $195,000 to the community. And so Rachel will talk some more about some of that programming that we started. Just a little bit of an update on that $200,000 to the community through our Blue Cross Blue Shield grant. We'll be giving out about $7,000 for a health and all policy task force, $10,000 to USD 234 on a vaping and tobacco strategy program. We will be providing about, out of Blue Cross Blue Shield, $72,000 for the placemaking. That's the 3rd Street Park and the downtown arch. We'll also have money out of the Patterson grant for that, of course, too. We recently announced that we gave Perry's Produce in Bronson $20,000 to increase access to healthier food in western Bourbon County. And we have a $23,000 budget for storytelling. So we'll have some video of Bourbon County and our efforts to enhance quality of life and encourage economic growth that will then in turn help us, obtain more funding. Success bequests success, or whatever they say. We have family-friendly work environments package too. We'll be working with Sharkies and Bids and Dibs on family-friendly work environments. We really work through policy, systems, and environmental change to make the healthy choice the default choice. Any one of these grants were required to sign a pledge and pass a policy. So the school, for instance, passed a policy at the board to move to a more restorative approach to vaping and tobacco prevention versus the punitive approach that has historically been in place. We partnered with CHC, the Communities and Champions, and the school district on providing the resources needed to kids who are now addicted to nicotine and the vaping pouches. The social determinants of health are community and social context, neighborhood and environment, food, healthcare, education, and economic stability. It's important in our messaging that we express that health is more than just what happens in the clinic. Health is what happens in your job, in your neighborhood, on having a safe neighborhood, having access to income opportunities and wealth building strategy, or having systems in place to gain transportation or access to your jobs or healthcare or food and those types of things. Your next slide shows the 3 avenues that we use: advocacy, partnerships, and capital injection. Move on to slide 5 there. We have had 3 trips to the Capitol this year. We've had a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor who testified on House Bill 2331. We were able to participate in Southeast Kansas Day on the Hill, Sunflower Foundation Trail Day. We had a booth with Thrive Allen County and Pitt State to talk about Prairie Pathways. We've had a Wichita visit where we were asked to be a partner in an Innovation Summit pilot program where we had the opportunity to review about 40 different business plans from across the nation. And out of those, we weeded it down to about 20 where we had virtual interviews. And then we went to the summit in Wichita where we picked out the top 5 businesses that brought technology to help enhance quality of life and economic growth in the communities. Out of that, we chose 5 top ones, and same with Thrive, so we're not the only losers that couldn't pick which ones we liked the best. But we were able to get a grant to help implement that software in our community. Our next Dare to Dream event, any person, attendee who attends that event will get a free annual membership to, it's called locara.us. I'm also serving on the Governor's Council on Fitness. I'm the award chair committee award chair this year, and so we have great representation on state level board that influence policy through and report to the Kansas Department Secretary Janet there. Outcomes that we've had is through all of this work, we've really built some really wonderful philanthropic relationships. This last year, I was able to sit down and have dinner with the Director of Office of Rural Prosperity, the new president over at Pitt State, had a really great meeting with a major philanthropic organization and other regional leaders. We have a great contract with KU that brings in quite a bit of income. It has me really busy traveling across Southeast Kansas, building up organizations like ours are called local health equity action teams throughout the Southeast Kansas region. So with that too, we're able to build up even more partnerships and collaborations through the region to help build up the region, because what's good for the region is good for Bourbon County, and what's good for Uniontown is good for Fort Scott, and all of the above, right? So we've done a great job in building new relationships. I got to sit down and talk to the new director of the Community Development Block Program and have a conversation with him on the new trails component and child care component that is a part of that, and build relationships there. We've been able to raise awareness of Bourbon County and the Fort Scott assets and to work down to break down silos. It was great when I was testifying on HB House Bill 2331 and talk about how we're working together through the region in the 3 different counties to work together versus seeing each other as threats or competitors, and how we can really build upon each other's strengths and leverage those resources. Again, and then just having a voice at the table to inform policy at the state level is something that will benefit us immensely as we work to just funnel resources into our direction. We've historically lacked capital or venture dollars into this region, and so just working towards those goals and increasing our health outcomes. So with that, I'll give it over to Rachel, who will give you some updates on our work with the Center for Economic Growth.
Hello. I wore heels so you can see me. I am so excited to talk about the Action Team Center for Economic Growth. The center program model brings together key partners that increase opportunities for upward economic mobility in the region. These partnerships are Southeast Kansas Works, Pittsburgh State University Small Business Development Center, and the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce. We are excited to share outcomes of these partnerships. Southeast Kansas Works, on your next slide. Southeast Kansas Works are in our office 5 days a week, 8:30 to 5:30. We have 3 different programs represented in our office: the adult program, youth program, and business program. Each of these programs provides support services for workforce development. The business program works with local employers to support employment retention. Some of these services they provide are training reimbursement opportunities for employers and free online job postings. Southeast Kansas reps engage the community through presentations, learning sessions, and job fairs. On your next slide, we have one of our partners, Stacia Clark, with us from PSU Small Business Development Center to give a quick overview of the services they provide for Bourbon County and highlight some of the outcomes we have had since starting this program.
Okay, mine is not nearly as scripted as theirs, but a couple things I want to point out, and just so you all know, Fort Scott is part of the area that I cover for the Small Business Development Center. I work out of Pittsburgh State University, but because of our partnership with the Healthy Bourbon County Action Team and the Center for Economic Growth, we are here in your county more than we are in any other county that I cover. I don't know if you guys realize what a great resource that you have here and these 2 ladies behind me, but I can tell you that no other county that I serve works like this county does. They are writing grants to give small businesses in your community a leg up, money to start, money to expand. Since I've started working with Jody, we have given away $2.5 million in this community in the last 2 years. $2.5 million. That's unheard of. So the communities I work with are all like Bourbon County. Right here in Southeast Kansas, we're considered the poorest poorest community, and according to a lot of people down in even in Crawford County, 2.5 million is a huge number. Another thing I want to point out is that when Jody and I started, we have increased from 3 to 109 unique clients in a 2-year period of time. So what that means is, obviously, when you work with businesses, you sometimes work with that business a couple times, 3, 4, 5 times, maybe 10 times. But there's been 109 different people in Bourbon County that have walked through our doors that have needed some type of help, whether that's starting a business, whether that's QuickBooks help, whether that's they need a website, they're not making enough profit, whatever that may be, we have helped them with that. So I just want to thank the community, the commissioners for your support, the community for their support, and especially Jody Hayner and Rachel Carpenter for allowing me to be part of this win in your community. Obviously, not all of you know me, but I'm local. I'm from here. I was raised and grew up here. My parents still live here. My maiden name is Fox. For those of you that don't know me, my dad owned a pharmacy here for 30 years. So for me to be able to come back and work in my hometown community I get no greater pride than being here. So thank you.
So thank you, Daisha, for sharing a little bit about what you do. I wanted to talk a little bit about HBCAT's grant program that's going on. It's funded through the Patterson Family Foundation. We are able to create a grant program for 3 different categories: farmer, rancher, restaurant, food retail, who are wanting to promote access to healthier food options through wholesale agreements. And the third category is women, minority, or low-income startup businesses. We have just concluded our 3rd grant cycle, awarding $81,000 to 12 area businesses. Each of these businesses worked with the Small Business Development Center to develop business plans and cash flow projections. We will be holding a grant ceremony celebrating the grant recipients on March 22nd at 12 p.m. at our office, and we are inviting you to celebrate these businesses with us. On your next slide is Dare to Dream. A committee of local female entrepreneurs was organically created within the center and hold quarterly workshops called Dare to Dream, Women's Entrepreneurship Series. The mission is to build up and support women-owned businesses in Bourbon County and the surrounding area. The committee works with the center staff and partners to organize workshops that focus on building successful businesses through education, professional networking, and connecting resources. You can see a list of the topics that were discussed in earlier events. According to United WE, Kansas Town Hall reports 66% of women having a transactional relationship with their financial institution compared to a relational relationship. This results in a lack of access to capital, limits awareness to financial information and resources, and limits connection and networking. Routinely, there are over 70 women who register for this event, and those who attend will hear from successful female business owners and develop key relationships from mentoring and advice. Dare to Dream has not only bridged the gap, that has also exploited systematic and systemic weakness by inviting personal bankers, PSUSBDC representatives, Chamber of Commerce, President and CEO, and other local women entrepreneurs in order to create a hub of resources, social and professional connections, and technical assistance. So that is just a wraparound of what the Center for Economic Growth does, and I just want to thank you for your time. And
if you guys have any questions about our services, we're open. And if not, we appreciate you listening to what we have to offer.
Thank you very much.
If we were at a Civil War event, this is where we would go, huzzah, huzzah, huzzah.
There's a video of me at the Prairie Pathways event after the ribbon cutting of me doing this. It's pretty impactful because I was just so excited it was finally over.
Well, thank you, ladies, for all your hard work. I know that there are many people in this community that have benefited greatly from just being able to know you and to take an opportunity to develop their businesses because of the what y'all provide down there. So
Thank you so
thank you
much.
for all your hard work. Next on our agenda is Corey Byers, request to close the Riverfront Park September 29th through 30th for the 2023 Care to Share event.
Hi there, my name's Corey Byers, and as Matthew said, here to request closing of the Riverfront Park Saturday, September 30th for the main event. We'll have some setup on the 29th, Friday, and possibly or very likely tear down on, would that be October 1st? So we would be looking to use the park and surrounding area that weekend. The 29th, I think we would suggest that it be closed for other purposes other than the Care to Share event. Actually, that'd be the 29th.
Brad,
the
did
Friday
we have
before.
paperwork for him on this?
No.
Okay.
This is the first time I've been in front of y'all. I'm somewhat new to the county.
It's okay.
Okay.
Perhaps unprepared, but I can wing it.
Yeah, I was looking for the same
Yeah.
thing.
Remember, there's a little form that we have filled out for any street.
Staff request?
No.
We just have a form that is always presented to us that they fill out what they need from us, what the closure is, how long, the dates, which streets will be
We
closed.
did
if they
for the
need
Halloween
barricade.
event.
Yeah,
We had
every
them
time
fill
we've ever
out-
closed anything, they've filled out one of those forms. So we will find out what that form is and get it to you, because we've always had everybody else fill it out, and then, I mean,
Yeah, we'll come back.
yeah, no, I think you'll get a yes as soon as we get the paperwork filled out, because it's a great event and we all support exactly what you're doing.
Appreciate you coming in early.
Absolutely.
Well, does everybody know what the event is?
It's the Care to Share event, or is this
Go
something
ahead,
different?
Go ahead. Share what the whole weekend is going to
So
generally,
this started last year. I moved into a house out on Maple Road, or Old 54, and wanted to have a small get together for friends. And I happen to be a fan of blues music, and we have some friends in Kansas City. So I was going to throw sort of a once in a lifetime housewarming, and it started taking on a life of its own. And I thought this needs to be for a bigger community and a bigger cause than Corey having a housewarming party with his wife. So I asked a friend of mine who's a charity in town that we could benefit with this thing. And someone suggested Care to Share. So I start calling Lavetta Sims, and she doesn't know me from Adam. And we don't connect for a couple months. Finally we do, and she liked the idea. So she comes out to the house, and the TD comes out to the house, and we put it all together. That's probably June or July. So within that 2-month period, we were able to throw together this fundraiser that turned into more of a fundraiser than a housewarming. And on our property out there, which is a little 5 acres, we don't know the exact number, but we think around 500 people. We raised $7,000-8,000 for Care to Share, purely from grassroots donations, passing the hat. At about 9:55 p.m., we had around 6,000. And a guy I know that's leading one of the bands said, "Hey guys, let's do 7." We passed a hat, put $1,000 in the hat in 5 minutes. So that was real grassroots, real just thrown together this year. And it turns out, as I'm talking to Lavetta, for 15 years they did Fall Fest. And they canceled it. And Fort Scott's clamoring for Fall Fest. I knew nothing about that. She knew nothing about me. We threw it together for Fort Fest. And it worked, so we're here to try to do that again. That's what this is about. We want to return. We had some kids' activities out there. They were minimal. We had a lot of the craft vendors that Fall Fest used to have. This year, we want to do each of the facets on a bigger scale. More kids stuff, more craft stuff, and a better music facility. Although our musicians, we spent $10,000 on musicians. This was real deal. We brought things to Fort Scott that either haven't been here before or of a caliber that we don't see that often.
How'd you like to set that up in front of Memorial Hall for us?
We're working
at
on
those
that.
at those rates.
We have stuff. I mean, that's what it takes to move into a new game.
Sure.
And that's why we generated the money. I bet 6,000 that those dollars came from my friends in Kansas City. They came down here. They took 14 of the 15 rooms in Cortland. They had rooms to sleep in. They ate breakfast. They had dinners. Many of them are already ready to come down again for the whole weekend. We're now aligned with the Kansas City Blues Society, which also touches all of the other blues societies in a 300-mile radius.
Wow.
We have musicians coming from markets that aren't serving Kansas City typically. Last year we had Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, and one out of Excelsior Springs, but that's pure coincidence. Her dad is a major blues star. And they're bringing people and money that wouldn't be in Fort Scott otherwise. And it's bringing a lot of Fort Scott people into a new genre of music that I don't know how many people said, I didn't know I liked the blues. They think it's some old boring, slow song that puts them to sleep. And the blues is rock and roll, the blues is country, and everybody there had a heck of a time. We expect to do that again, and we expect to have corporate sponsors, and we expect to raise a ton of money for Care to Share, which does some cool stuff.
Is there going to be any food?
There will be food. We're trying to, I failed to mention that. We're going to try to hook up a barbecue contest.
Not that I
around
can
this.
think of food. I would just.
Last year we had Butcher Block was there and did smash burgers, and on like last minute's notice, and Brian told me he'd never sold out as many burgers or as fast. So he got $10 for 400 burgers. We had $4,000 that he got to cycle through in a matter of 3 hours, and he threw a chunk back to Care to Share. Tammy and Doug Miller were out there with their cotton candy and maybe something else. I know they did banner business and they want to come back this year. Brad's trying to get a head start on a barbecue contest to make another component of this overall weekend event. We already have pretty good interest 6 months out, 7 months out. We'll have some level of food truck. We'll talk to Sharky's about a beer tent or something that serves adults. The overall plan, we're still working on the logistics of where to put what. First thought is to put the main music stage on the east side of the highway and make that sort of its own segregated area for music, and put all the kids' stuff out in the front, sort of across from Twister Trailer, and let people, they can park at Twister Trailer, it'll be a real short walk for kids, and that way the two events aren't really fighting each other. We're looking a little more, maybe getting a couple flatbeds and putting them in front of the little deck that's east of the main park but west of the highway. That might work better for shade and overall layout for an audience. It also puts them closer to barbecue trucks, which we're thinking of running down the west side of the, I don't know the name of the road, but the road that goes to the tunnels where Stevens painted and everything. Try to put the trucks right there closer to National. We got a lot of logistics. We pulled it off last year in my yard. We can sure as heck pull it off in a beautiful park like Riverfront. And we would highly expect every one of you to be there, for sure. Come and enjoy it. Friends and families, and we want to blow it out for Care to Share. That's the whole intent.
Awesome.
Right. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So I'll work with, I guess, Brad. I can
Yeah,
give you on
I'll
this
get
form.
that. Yep, I'll get the form, whatever it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Yeah, I was asking because I knew about the barbecue thing that Brad was trying to put together. It was like a segue.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for making it, make fun of the fat guy. I appreciate it. All right. Next item.
You're just big bone.
I'm just big fan. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. Next on our agenda is the update on the status of 1107 West 6th Street.
James Malvo, Hannah. I'm not a very good speaker, so I'll let her carry it on.
We signed a contract a couple. Is it on?
Yeah, just speak right into it.
You have to get close to it.
Don't be scared of it.
We signed a contract a few days ago, a little over a week ago, to purchase the ice house at the end of 6th Street. We are working on a contract with a demolition company right now to have that building demoed. We understand it's been condemned by the city. We also understand that some requests for bids had went out to have that property demoed, and we would like to ask the city to allow us to go ahead and have it demoed ourselves, and that we'll we'll make sure it gets taken care of. And I'll let him talk to you about the time frame. I just do the paperwork.
Speaking of the mic, please, James.
You will just need a little time to complete the mission and stuff. And I was wondering if it was.
What are you thinking time frame wise?
Oh, I don't want to sell myself short, but at least, give us a year and then we'll try to, I'm thinking they might get it done in a month. But I don't want to tell you something and I don't hold true to it. I'm dealing with, I spoke with Saker about demoing it, and we got to agree to a price and everything like that. He's got a place to go with the waste and stuff, and so he called me the other day and says, he'd like to get started on it. And I said, we went to the Stewart Realtor, and I wanted a title insurance on it, make sure everything was clear and up to par. And so that's what I'm waiting on to take possession of it. And
We close the 30th of March.
Right.
and so then after that, he's ready to jump on it and take it down. And then we would like to build fourplexes for senior citizens or something like that in it, or do something of that nature to help for housing and stuff like that. That's what our plan is anyway.
Now, Brad, this doesn't have any, was there a different person looking at this?
There was.
And so he was gonna come speak, but this is something totally different, right?
Yeah, totally different.
I mean,
And there's
own
an
the
agreement.
property.
Yeah.
Well, we have a contract on the property. We put our earnest money down and we close on March 30th.
That other one fell off, so this is the one.
Are y'all going to demo the brick structure as well as all the condemned portions?
Yes, sir.
So after you close, I mean, you think we'll start seeing progress
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm dealing with another contractor and stuff like that. And so he's led me to believe he's ready to start on it. We haven't got a contract in writing yet, but he said he would start one up
for
the demo.
Thomas, the utilities and everything are disconnected over there?
Yes, sir. Everything is disconnected. It's ready to go. The only thing that I would have to check on that is to see if the gas meter is gone. I know that was requested, but they require up to 21 days to have that removed.
Did you say what your planned use was?
We plan to build like
Fourplexes.
fourplexes.
Four
I
buildings.
may have missed that. And so the zoning is correct? Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to not take the city not take any action on this, and we'll give them time. We'll revisit it the second meeting in May. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd second that.
That way it gives you, and just come back and see what progress you have, and just kind of, Thomas, you don't have to come, but Thomas can say this is what's happened. And I give you 45 days after closing to.
You're welcome to see the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. We appreciate it. I mean,
Yeah,
we need the housing down
Yes.
here. If you're going to put something new in there, especially for our seniors, that's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
You too.
Hey, we have a motion.
Yeah, we have a motion in a second.
Okay.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Since there's no public hearing this evening, we'll move on to our new business. First up is discussion of 10 North National property.
Okay, that's the vacant lot between the Artificers and Sharkies. It's my understanding that a portion of that lot belongs to Sharkies
No.
already.
Well, yeah, there are two locations there. One was privately owned.
Yes.
One was donated to the land bank. And that's the one, 10 North National was donated to the land bank, and that's the one that we have now.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it's still listed in the land bank though, because
I don't know if
it was in the land bank until it had to be demoed.
Yeah.
The land bank had
And
to
then
give it to the city in order
had to give it
get
to
the
the
grant.
city in order for it
the
to get
demo.
the grant. So right now, it's city property.
Yes.
So yeah, and I wasn't sure where it was at, but since it's all, I think the CBDG grant's finally all done, so I would just would like
Motion,
just
put
give
it back
a
to the land bank.
motion, give it back to the land bank since that's process. It was donated to the land bank and then switch over to the city for that. Now it's finalized a few weeks ago. I would just make the motion to donate 10 North National back to the land bank since it's all wrapped up and complete now.
Well, I think it's a pretty good commercial location myself. I would also make the motion I would like to make would be that we look at what the actual square footage is that doesn't belong to Sharky's there, and before we would donate it back to the land bank, see if we can take an RFP and proposals for the property itself and what they want to do there, because I think it's a great piece of property right there where it is. And I've had a few people that have approached me and said, hey, if something's done with that, you know, I've got ideas of what I'd like to do with it. So I think there may be an opportunity, because the land bank, somebody can get it for $1,000, you know, and say what they want to do. But I mean, if there's an opportunity to.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you not like the way the land bank's set up? Do you think that so my thing is, when it was a dilapidated building, it goes to land bank, but now that it's worth more, we can say, hey, we should go ahead and take it because it's worth something now. And if so, we have other property people are wanting. Second part is, why do we have the land bank? Is that just for the crap properties, or?
Well, what's predominantly in there right now that we're trying to get turned around and fixed? Like I said, it was in the land bank when it was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever came in there was going to have to submit a proposal of what they were going to do with it. Right. There was a timeline established to it. I don't see where it would hurt to see, with what we're trying to do to grow downtown, with items like the splash pad and other items coming in there, to see if there's someone that would like to invest and put something in that space down there.
And we don't believe that the land bank can handle that.
Well, by the same token, Matthew, I mean, again, it's...
Well, here's the deal. It was in the land bank and it was given to the city for demolition reasons. So it didn't go through the actual process that land bank was set up for, people turning proposals. So now you're really limiting people that would have went after that building first time, because it went to the city not by standards of the land bank. It went to the city because it had to get demolished. So there's a standard operating procedure in the land bank saying, if someone wants this is how it goes.
Okay, but right now, though,
but the city did not follow that, so it was not offered to anybody. It was only offered to the city.
But right now, it's not in the land bank because of the grant that took place.
Yes.
I don't see the harm in seeing if an investor would like to pay for
The
it.
deal is, you're like, it's like saying, I give someone to something because I have to, and now like, well, I'm not giving it back because it's worth something now because, you know, we got something here.
Well, it's apples and oranges. When you consider what it was when the Eagle Block building was still there to what it is now. It's a blank slate right now.
So if the land bank wanted to give the city more property, are you up for that?
Depends on the situation.
So, and I was against land bank, and you were for it. But so I think now we're handicapping the land bank if we take all the properties we deem more valuable.
But I
now.
think a lot of those land bank considerations of what the goal is of what we're trying to do is for housing.
Best use.
Best use and infill. But I mean, our biggest lack of resource we have right now is housing, as well as unsafe structures, and what can we do to correct that, in my opinion.
So what will we do different than for the land bank? Because they go out for RFPs also.
Actually, they don't go out for RFPs. People that are interested in those properties have to come forward and present what they're going to do. Their proposal with that property. The land bank's not actively going out to people, but I don't see any reason why, in my opinion.
Well, they are.
I mean,
going out for people. They are.
Well, yeah, we've got some signs and we've had some listings and there's tax sales, but in this case here on a commercial piece of land, like I said, it would just be my preference. You've stated yours, that we see if there is someone that is interested in purchasing that lot, you know, at a price higher than the $1,000 requirement of the land bank, and they want to put something in an investment downtown, downtown community.
But are we in the business of selling property? Is that what we are in the business of doing?
Well, we
buying
sold
and
a lot
selling
of property for several $100,000 out the lake.
Yeah, and the $1,000 when you say that is a minimum.
Yeah.
If someone comes back, so price
Yeah.
is weighed in on the land bank. You help set it up. Price is
Yeah.
factored in.
Mhm.
It's not just.
I guess I'm not understanding why the land bank cannot allow people to come to it and present their proposals and then offer to buy it from the land bank.
Well, that's fine.
I thought that was the point of the land bank.
That was my
That's
understanding. Yes.
fine, but what I'm saying is if you're looking for development down there, I think that maybe you might have someone that, well, as long as it's advertised out there correctly and everyone's got an opportunity to put a proposal in on what they would do with it, I'm fine with it.
And I just want to make sure we're going, because I don't want someone to come back and say the city illegally obtained this from the land bank, because it was under the assumption it was only given to the city
To be
handle the
demoed,
grant.
and then we were going to give it back
And then
to
all of a
the
sudden, if
land
we
bank.
sell it, I'm afraid there's going to be legal issues.
And I'm afraid of legal issues too, due to the notification requirements on a piece of property that the city has. I think it would be in our best interest to make sure that we provide that 30-day notice for people to submit proposals for what they would put in that space and make it available to
So the land
everybody.
bank, the state statute requires all properties to be sent out for notice 30 days prior to proposals. You can't give it away 30 days before. So it's set up that way. I think what you're saying is the city probably advertises it better than what the land bank. I would disagree with that a little bit. Kind of some other bids we've sent out, but if your thing is land bank, please advertise this more or whatever, then I mean I think they'd be fine with it.
Yeah, we've all talked about wanting transparency in everything that's done, and whatever's going to be done with that lot right there. And I would love to have something positive done with that lot right there. That there have been folks that until this meeting were not aware it was going to go back in the land bank or what the status was, that have approached me. May probably have approached you. I think you did say there was some folks that approached you with what they want to do with it. That we make sure that this is an equal opportunity for somebody to, if it goes back to the land bank, for them to present what they'd like to do with it for approval through the land bank.
And that's the great thing about the land bank is all that's done in open present.
Yeah.
One thing we've set up is take names off of it. So when they're presented to us, we have no names on there.
Yeah.
It's just a proposal. So it's sent there and it's done in the open, in the public. No executive sessions, none of that. So I think it's one of the most transparent ways there are.
All right, we still have a motion on the table to return the property to the land bank.
Second motion.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. And then you go to the land bank meetings. I think you're on the land bank, correct?
No.
No, you just go to the
I'm on
meetings.
Bourbon County Ready. He's on the
Okay. I'm sorry. So much change.
Well, I was the only one who asked that because I about asked if he was on the land bank committee.
Yes,
Too.
all right.
Wait a minute, aren't you on the land bank committee?
No. But again, like I said, I would just ask that, for that piece of property that and it is kind of unique where it's located at, right downtown, that we advertise that we're accepting proposals for that.
All right, now item B under new business, consideration of a utility easement adjustment on the purchased lake lot.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, on this item here, usually when we get these requests for easements, we have maps, we have signatures, we have the whole 9 yards. And I had tried to get yesterday with the city manager, and we don't have any of that. I couldn't tell you where this easement was. The last one that we approved at the last meeting, we had the information ahead of time, the location, the area. I had the opportunity to drive by there and look at it. So I would just simply ask that we table this for the next meeting to see if we can get those documents.
I'll give you some brief real quick. Diane reached out to me. She said, I don't know what to do on this. Guy bought this. And I said, I actually don't know either. The best thing to do is to call Lisa or Brad and get the proper paperwork. I said, I don't know what that's called. And she said, well, let's just have a meeting with Brad. So I just scheduled a meeting with her, me, and Brad. And after that, she was supposed to fill out the paperwork. This is all that she was given.
To fill
So we need to make sure moving forward that use this as they know what to do when they fill this out. So they know it needs X, what the commission wants. So
Well, this is going to be an extremely sticky situation. I believe it is something that we will probably want to have a work session about before we even consider voting on this, because it is going to set a precedence at the lake that will reverberate through every piece of property that is out there. I've been out there. I've seen the piece of property. I know what they're talking about.
Did you get a map?
No, I just went out and looked according to the description where it was, and I just happen to know that piece of property. So, number one, you know how I feel about giving up utility easements. No, never. Two, there are so many properties out at the lake that have things built or placed on city property or on easements all over the place. And if we go making a decision to give this one up, then we will set a precedence for every other person around the lake to say, well, my part of my shed is setting on city property. You need to give that to me. Or I built a propane tank over here on this piece of land. You need to give this to me. And I put my boat over on this piece of land for 20 years, so this deserves to go to me. So we have to be very careful with what we do and what we talk about here.
That's why I'd like to move that this is tabled until we can get the additional information to at least look at. I'm not saying I would vote yes or no on it without knowing that, but based on a one-page form, I
Right.
mean, like I said, the last easement we vacated, we had a lot more supporting documentation with it than just this one-page form.
Right. I'm just suggesting that we schedule a work session to go over the lake properties and to form a consensus on what we want to do with all of the properties that have things scattered all across easements and city property out there at the lake before we even begin to address something like this.
Okay, well, maybe we do this first motion, then if you want to make one for the work session, I'm all for it.
Okay. Do we have a second? Tim's motion is to wait until we have the paperwork.
Right. Yes.
I think that's a second.
Yes, that is a second. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Can we do?
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to get with Diane Stryler and have her get a picture of the area and mark on the picture where they want the easement. Is that
I would
appropriate?
use
Is all
that
we need?
last one up on Hewlett or Steen as maybe a guideline.
Yeah, that's a great guideline. That guy provided some great
Pull that
stuff.
and just-
Because on that one, I actually drove down and looked at it as well.
And then before we make a decision on anything out there at the lake, I would like us to have a work session where we discuss what we're going to do about all of those properties that have things on easements and the confusion where the property lines are and where the buildings are built, because that is a massive problem out at the lake.
Do you mind if we discuss that at the end of the meeting today?
No, I'm happy if we discuss it there as well. But I would still like, depending on what we decide there, to have a work session before this is brought back before the commission for a vote. We will move on to item C, consideration for the purchase of a storm siren, Walnut Hill.
Back in, let me see here. Back in September, if you guys remember, we sent in applied for a USDA rural development grant to replace two storm sirens within the city, one on Marion Street and then one up on Steen Street. We checked on the grant here a couple weeks ago, actually last week, and found out that the funds have not been distributed down from the federal side down to the state side. So we really don't know where we're at as far as when we're going to get these funds. I contacted the state, USDA at the state, and expressed some concern about one of our sirens on Marion Street. And it wasn't in your packet. I apologize because I didn't get the last bid until late Friday. So Lisa made copies for you. But there's a picture of the Marion siren. And you can see how, actually, it is not operational at all. That siren has quit working and the pole is leaning. And I expressed some concerns about that siren and asked if we could, the USDA grant's pretty much a 50-50 grant. if we could go ahead and proceed with the one on Marion Street, and then if we get the grant, then we'll have the Steen Street replaced as well. They said that was okay as long as we provide documentation if we do follow up with that. One of the other things that I did was, since this was back in September, I rebid this out, or went to the two companies that we looked on to bid out for the grant, and I got updated quotes on it. You'll see the one from CDL. The CDL bid was $41,984.52. That changed yesterday. It is now $46,649.52. And the reason it changed is because they didn't add the solar option into that siren. Federal Signal, Blue Valley Public Safety, their quote was $31,383.21. There is additional options below there. One of the options is what we will be using is removal of the services. So basically they'll take that pole and siren down, and that's an additional $1,089. So total on the Blue Valley Public Safety is $32,472.25. On the grant, the total grant was for $60,123. The federal grant application, their portion was $33,068, and our portion was going to be $27,055. So we're still going to have to put that money whether we get the grant or not. I'm just asking if we could go ahead and proceed with the low bid of Blue Valley Public Safety to start the process to get the Marion siren up and running.
And as you already stated, when we do purchase this siren, we will have completed our portion of the match when we do get the grant.
Yes. Yeah, that will be the portion if we get the grant.
When?
Yes.
We only speak positive over things.
The one on Steen Street is just a siren. It's not the pole. So hopefully I'll rebid that when that time comes as well, and maybe we'll come out on top on that one too.
You know, where did the storm siren budget come out of? What budget is that?
We'll have to look at it. We'll have to look at it.
I know we talked about it before being in there. I just can't remember which budget it was.
I think I want to say it's you're in the equipment fund. I can double check that tomorrow.
What's the time of installation?
8 to 12 weeks.
Oh, we're in storm season.
Yeah.
Okay.
The time to do this was when we sent the grant off, and I was hoping we would get a quicker. But
So, are you recommending that individuals use kind of what in case of an emergency?
in case of emergency, so what we're going to do is we'll have PD go up to that area when we have to do sirens, and they will announce on their intercoms and sirens, and we'll make sure they're notified.
Are you guys using the red code system?
We do code red as well.
Code red.
Sorry.
All right. Well, I'm looking for a motion to approve the purchase and installation.
Yep, I'll make that motion from the low bid, as recommended.
Yeah, Blue Valley.
I'll second that.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll go ahead. I will keep you updated on the siren status and the grant as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Darren. Item D on new business, consideration for purchase of body cams. Our new chief of police is going to address the council.
Good evening, commissioners. Just want to take 1 second to clarify something on Mike Miles' presentation about us being reimbursed for somebody leaves. That's a state statute. That's not something we've worked out with the employees one-on-one. That's a state statute making that requirement that we get reimbursed from the new agency. So just want to make that clear.
Could I ask one question, Chief?
Sure.
What is the starting wage for police officers?
$15 an hour.
Thank you. Continue.
Was the $10? Is
Going out of the
I'm
academy?
sorry. Never mind.
No, it's before we send them to the academy.
They are on a different shift. the reserves.
The fire reserves, or
Yeah, fire reserves. So they just
We don't have fire reserves. We have nobody right now.
yeah. All right, so body cameras. We're wanting to update them. We first purchased our body camera system in 2017. We purchased 10 body cameras, 5 in-car cameras, and server system for plus the software for $65,000 back then. Obviously, that equipment is outdated now and is no longer going to be supported by WatchGuard, Motorola. So you're wanting to upgrade those and go with, and what they do now is a pay-as-you-go system. So it's not the like in 2017, we had to come up $65,000 up front to purchase that system. With this system, it would be an upfront payment of $36,000 and some change for the hardware and the subscription cost, and then the next 4 years would be $22,000 a year, which covers the subscription fee and the cloud storage. Most of your body camera systems are going to that subscription service. That's the way Axon, Taser has been for years, and that's the way the rest of the industry seems to be going also. So we're wanting to purchase this time around. We'd like to buy 18 body cameras and 6 in-car cameras. The reason for the increase in the body cameras is because we find ourselves with the 10, we come up short-handed a lot of times. We didn't always have enough to go around, especially if we had a couple down needing repair. Then you come up short-handed, and like we have special operations or whatever, not everybody has one to wear. And the reason for the 6 in-car cameras is we have kept one of our extra patrol units. I know we bought those Ford Durangos. We've kept a couple of the old Ford Explorers so that when we have a car in the shop for repair, we still have enough cars to cover the road. So, and we didn't go out for any other bids on this system. We've been with WatchGuard, like I said, since 2017. We're very happy with the quality of the camera, the quality of the video, the software system that helps us distribute the videos to like the county attorney and all that. And so we like to just continue that service and upgrade from here. So, any questions?
Yeah, Chief. I was actually kind of looking. I'm starting to carry this with me here all the time. We look.
I have mine in the car.
We had the capital improvement program thing that we worked on with Travis, and I'm looking at this, and we had looked at body camera systems of an upgrade for 2023 of $35,000. So that first year number is not far off, but now there was nothing in there until 2027 after that, which was another $25,000. So this has gone up exponentially from what he first brought in here. Of a total, looked like $35,000, and then there'd be nothing until 2027. But we're talking about $36,000 up front, and then $23,000 a year for pretty much the subscription, for the next 5 years. So the funds for this, I know there was an auction that had taken place, and there was some money that was available for that. I mean, where do you think, based on the budget plan we tentatively put together, it's not in stone yet, with Chief Shelton, you know, that these funds would come, this additional $23,000 a year for the subscription on the cameras and the additional car camera?
Or yeah, the current ones we use now, are they weren't subscription based?
They were not subscription based.
Do you know how much they were bought outright in what year?
In 2017, we paid $65,000 for our current system.
Yeah. So I think with this system, we're up around $120,000 all in.
That is correct. Now the $35,000 you spoke of, that was based off of the initial quote we'd received from WatchGuard, and I'm not sure where the follow up on the rest of the service came, fell through on that that plan that you're looking at. So I apologize for that.
The difference between 10 and 18, I know you said we have 10 now. We run a few short. It just seems to almost double. That was just my question. Like, how many office?
So we typically have shifts of 3 and shifts of 4. During the day, we have typically 3 officers on duty. We'll have a couple detectives that could use a body camera. We'd also like to equip our school resource officers with body cameras. So if you have nearly half of your units being used during the day, and the other half are being charged for the night shift. Now, night shift, you're not going to need that many, but if we ever do like a search warrant, instead of every other person wearing a body camera, everybody's got one. If we ever do like a step enforcement, you have a couple officers on duty, you got plenty to go around. You don't have to worry about it, especially if you have some go down. The big problem we've been having is getting those body cameras back since the worldwide chip shortage has affected everything, including body cameras. That's what's making it hard to get our cameras back and then back in service right now.
So if this is kind of a new program, you're going to get these new cameras, and then it's going to be a subscription service you didn't have before. Have we looked at any other manufacturers of these body cams to see if maybe there was a better or more economic? I mean, I don't want to go cheap on the body cams, but I mean, have we looked at anybody else?
Yeah, the industry's going to say something here in a minute, but so when we see a thing that says we did not seek any other bids, cameras due to our satisfaction. I mean, that's great as a director, but as commissioners, that's when we almost crossed the line of,
Yep.
How do we know?
This is the best available.
Yeah, I mean,
opportunity for you guys.
We open ourselves up to scrutiny, saying, "Hey, that's someone's friend. We're just going to keep going with them." Right. And so
we like to request a bare minimum of 2 comparative bids.
Okay.
More would be awesome, but we do like at least 2 if that's at all possible.
Yeah, that's possible.
And I would just look at the purchasing policy just to make sure each time we're following that policy. And that's what we talked about last time. If we need to change it, we change it. But while it's in effect, we need to try to abide by it.
Well, if we were already in a subscription mode right now, that would be a completely different story. If we were needing to replace just certain cameras, but since this is something new, I think we do have an opportunity to look at other sources.
Yeah, and I agree. And just suggestion, like if you came back to us and said, "Hey, Motorola was higher than this one," but as my personal opinion, I think Motorola is better because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah. You know, we weigh that in, and so we don't just look at price. So, you know, we value your opinion on it as well. So if they come back and it's, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Have you looked into the state maybe having a program available for body cams or anything like that?
I have not looked at the state if they have any purchasing agreements. There might be. I have seen something through Custom Signal, but Custom Suit we used to have for our in-car cameras, and they're not at this level.
Okay.
I did apply for a micro grant for body cameras. I don't have high hopes for it because it's through the Bureau of Justice, the BJA. I can't remember what the A stands for, but anyway, there's some states that require body cameras by law, and Kansas isn't one of them. So the micro grant I feel like is more geared towards states that have that requirement. So that would give us $18,000 towards the purchase.
That's $18,000 though.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
but like
anything will help.
Yeah, no other city in the state of Kansas got that grant last year, so that's my concern with that.
What will we do with our old system and our old cameras? Will we sell those to someone else?
We could. I don't know that they'd have a lot of
24 hours a day.
I don't know that they'd have a lot of use because Motorola is no longer going to service them. So if they go bad, then no, we still have to maintain our old server. We could technically run a couple cameras off of that system, but then if we end up going with another company, we'd be maintaining 2 digital services that really isn't practical. So, but I will get back to you with more bids.
I got a question, if I may. It says the cameras you currently have will transition easily with the new software and the new storage. So they're all going to be Motorola's.
Well, what I'm talking about is the storage on the server now will be easily uploaded to the cloud through the WatchGuard system.
Okay.
That's where the ease of use comes for us. We're not having to try and transport WatchGuard, video over to like an Axon system, and whatever problems, that's way over my head, the technology of that part. But
we'll work together, get the other quotes, get with IT to see what kind of problems, and then we'll find the fund source.
And probably what we should do, base our purchase policy, we really need to go out for bids and not just quotes. We really need to authorize you to go out for bids and have them turned in by X date. The only thing before we do that is probably get with Ben, because we're going from a 13,000 year average to now a 25 on that. So just make sure we're doubling just our body camera expense. So just make sure, it's a continual expense that we're always gonna have 18 now. So I just get with Brad and Ben and make sure that's doable. But I'll, just to make sure we follow protocol, I'll make a motion to allow Chief Pickert to go out for bids for body cameras and in-car camera.
Second.
I guess I should ask your opinion, Bob.
Was it supposed to say yes?
Yep. Yes.
Will you amend that to include the cloud system as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
And due back whenever. Brad and Chase.
Think we can get it by our meeting on the 24th?
24.
Not this month.
Not this month?
that'd be pushing it.
Okay.
So
They're gonna
first
go out for bid,
meeting,
it'll probably be next
first meeting in April, or is that too soon?
That'd be fine.
All right, bids
That'll
due
be,
back.
because we needed it sooner rather than later. So
Bids
that's our
due
top
back
priority.
the Friday before the first meeting in April.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Edwin Wilhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Next item is Tom Kaufman to talk to us about paint and a skid loader attachment.
Evening.
Yeah, I'm confused. I thought the paint was on order already for previous
what I
meetings.
did
That was the machine.
No,
We bought.
No,
we
the
didn't
paint.
really-
He said it was on back order before.
Yeah, you
It's
said it
on
was
back
on back
order.
order before. So I thought it was already ordered and on back order.
Okay.
So, well, they're ramped up now. They're
We're gonna
ready.
just
Sherman
wanna
Williams
approve
is
it?
Now, I did check with,
I see multiple quotes. Thank
yes,
you.
there you go.
Good job, Tom.
Thank you. They can give us a better deal. Now, this is 1,000 gallons. The way I figured it was 5 to 7 gallons for 300 feet, which is kind of the average for most blocks. So we're hoping this will get us started pretty good.
Will this spray that little pebbly stuff over the top?
No, we will. That is
Yes.
actually, how much was that? It's $33 a bag.
Okay.
40 bags per pallet, so we have to buy that separate. They can't really give us a good deal on that.
Okay.
So, we will put the glass beads. It does make the paint last longer.
Yes.
And
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
so try to go from there on
Okay.
that. But has to prove at least 1,000 gallons. We can mix and match, white or yellow. So Mako and Hydrix, they couldn't supply it. There's just no way. So this is the best option.
Oh, I thought Mako put an amount in here.
They did. They don't know if they'll be able to get it all.
Okay.
We'll just mix and match.
All right. Well, do we have a motion for the low bid and the glass beads of up to 1,000 gallons?
Yes.
I'm asking for a motion. I haven't got one yet.
On the purchase order,
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I was like clarifying. Hold on.
is it 13 or 15?
It's 15's at the bottom
On the
here.
purchase order, it says 15,668.
I can see it.
That means you got 4 bids.
It says 13,668 on the front.
This is up here. Is this the tax?
15,668.
No,
Is that the bid? Is it 15?
I think you meant to put a 15. That's
Okay.
the total right there.
15.6. Okay, it is. Because it is.
This is the glass beads. He called me back and told me how much they were. So yeah, it's just a.
Is it tax and everything?
No,
Or is that
no,
with
we
the
don't get
beads?
charged tax. I think it's. Thinking if we put a 5, and that could be a 5.
Is that a 5? It looks like a 13.
The current staff request should be 15,668. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
It should be 15, not 13.
15,668.
Yes. 80. And
80 cents.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve that purchase.
Second.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hickey,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
One question. Is this with the beads and everything, or is this
No,
just the
beads
paint?
the beads will be separate. He didn't give me the price on the beads till like last night.
Okay. Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. And the pad foot compactor attachment.
Okay, this one I probably should have emailed. I did get 3 quotes on this because of the lead time. So I guess we're looking to spend what $14,480 on a pad foot 73-inch vibratory roller with padded drum to fit on the front of our skid loader. We had to rent one last year. I don't know if we ever got a bill for that.
Not yet.
Which I'm sure.
So we are looking at the one for, is it 14 even? I've got one here for 14,480. That's
Yes,
the one we're looking
yes,
at.
that's the one we're looking at. Now I did get 2 more. Skid Pro out of Minnesota, 19,390, and then there's a gentleman over in Nevada, Jim Swanson, MBW, same thing, 19,000 30-day lead time. So that's why I kind of looked those up also because of the big lead times. Now the Bobcat one is under a state contract, but if they order it from the factory, it's 16 weeks out. So, but he may be able to get this from another store and have it transferred in and move it over to the government side.
And these are brand new attachments.
Brand new, yes.
Okay. Is there an opportunity? I'm just curious to look at slightly used, or they're probably not too slightly used based on what they are. But
I haven't seen too many of them, but I haven't really.
I mean, I'm
used
not
them either.
I'm not real concerned. I mean, I looked at again at the capital improvement plan. It looked like we had one of these budgeted in for a pad foot compactor for 2023, and the estimation that we had on that was $12,000 of what we would spend.
How much more machinery are we going to purchase? Because I know when we were first in here to bid on machinery, I asked if there was any more machinery that was needing to be purchased, and everyone said no. So it's becoming every other week that we're having to purchase new machinery or parts.
Well, I understand it, and things do change.
Okay.
I know with the backhoe was not being used, was not being utilized at all, and
Okay.
we just found a piece of equipment that we could utilize a little bit better.
Well, the excavator we've already taken care of, right?
Yes, it should be here in 30 days.
No, I mean the one we purchased, the 963K.
Oh, the
Track
track
loader.
loader, track loader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's stored.
I mean that's
This is every few weeks, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, let's consider how much we actually purchased over the last 2 years.
mhm.
0. So we are way behind, and our equipment is getting worse. Are we wanting to buy this stuff? We've got to have it to do our job.
I understand that, but I
And-
did ask the question if there was anything else that was going to need to be purchased at that time when we spent that $100 and some thousand, and they stood right up here and said no.
But we also are saving you so much because we're doing the job ourselves. So to do it ourselves and to save the citizens $400,000, we need to buy things like the pad foot vibrating piece of equipment so we can
And
do
a
the
skid
job.
loader, and
And it's
that's where
still,
I'm
we're
coming
still
from.
saving the money. I totally understand what you're saying, but we're still saving money to where we can go on to another projects and save more money. If you outsource these jobs, we're gonna be really far behind with our money.
Yeah, and I think what she's saying is,
Don't
why,
come
why wasn't this
brought to our attention.
foreseen
It's
before?
in the CIP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the pad roll is actually
Okay.
in the CIP for this year.
And then
The only thing that's not is the mini
Excavator.
And,
excavator that
Jerry
we
did not get a chance to talk that night either at the work session.
Okay.
I mean, so
Oh,
there
'cause we were
was
running late.
quite a bit on there.
My only question is, goes back to the purchasing policy again, and we either need to change it or what, because anything over 10,000 is supposed to go out for sealed bids, not just quotes. And so that's the only thing is, like I said, if we need to change that, we need to change it, but while
Well,
it's there. we
I
have to-
apologize if we're not doing it right. Please correct me.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
But I don't, have we done that in the last couple of years?
Yeah, anything over 10,000, we go out for sealed bids on.
We're
Okay.
supposed to.
Yeah.
Unless it's a government.
It's not always
uh,
been
Unless it's a
done.
government- yeah.
And that's what Bobcat is. I went ahead and got the other prices because of
Okay.
lead time.
Okay,
So,
so your recommendation is going with Bobcat.
yeah, if I'm hoping, I don't want to jinx it. So if he can find one close that he can transfer in, I just don't want to jinx that.
and the Bobcat bid at 14,480
Yes.
is the one you're looking at.
And we're going to work with the county also to borrow theirs in the meantime until we.
Well, and,
we'll
and
have
it's up
have
to us as a commission too to keep track of this stuff. As she said, so like I said, I would like to get from Ben and Brad
A breakdown more.
something finalized. This was the working copy that everyone came in and asked for during that planning meeting, because I think this should be something that we all have at every single meeting as these requests
Well-
come in. Because like, you know, the body cams, absolutely, they were on there. There's a change to it, but at least they were on there for this year. And then, you know, the pad foot compactor's on here.
Right.
So I've got no problem with the pad foot compactor. It's on there for this year. But
The
it's,
continued.
it's just our due diligence of
Right.
making sure that we're following the plan that we're working with Baker Tilly on.
And you're
So
missing
I'll go one
an
step farther, sorry, and say that something I was hoping to bring up later should be part of a comprehensive and strategic plan that we should have already been addressing by now.
well, and you're only looking at one piece, and the next piece that Ben, I would highly recommend you proceed in is a capital financial plan, so that you can be looking at that in the future, and you can see where your cash flow is, or your cash at the end, and that'll show you the total picture, and you'll be looking at it comprehensively. So you're just looking at a piece, a piece.
Yeah, what Evan's saying, you know, we know January, we're gonna buy X, X, and X.
Yep.
Right.
And we're gonna, you know, and Ben says, well, you'll have the money here to buy it, and then, which we're doing good on, we're working there, so it's really, because 2 years ago, there wouldn't even have been nothing on
Yeah.
there, it would have just been blank.
Well, and the other thing is it takes time and preparation to do that correctly, and once you get that budget approved and you've got, then that gives them the direction to play the game.
And directors had to, it's been tough, because you've had a moving target with different finance, different income, and so, you
Yeah.
know, it's been tough for you guys, I know, so.
Yeah, it's been a educating experience. That's for
So do we want to have him go out for closed bids, or do we?
Well,
Is
and
there a
he is
motion
right, if
to?
it's a state, you know,
Yeah.
that's what we've done before, just.
The Bobcat one is the state
Yes.
approved. I would move then. I mean, it's just a little bit above the estimated in the capital improvement equipment program. I would move to approve the purchase of the vibratory roller with padded drum for $14,480 from Bobcat.
Second.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Maybe.
It actually
Smash
could be.
it down.
We'll now move on to the annual water meter change out program. Bill.
Before you, there's a purchase order for purchasing water meters for our 2023 change-out program. You'll notice that there's only one quote on there from Schulte Supply. This is because they are now our new sole source authorized vendor from Neptune. To explain a little bit how this works, Neptune and all other water meter companies in the United States use this kind of a process. Is to protect themselves from price gouging and overinflated prices. Also to ensure that a minimum stock from the selected vendors is kept on hand for their customers, and a minimum technical support is also provided. For the past 15 years, our sole source vendor was Utility Solutions, but the gentleman that runs that company is retiring later this year, and he's going to be closing down his company. So Neptune selected Schulte Supply as our new vendor for the state of Kansas. So what we're kind of what we're looking at is to buy our water meters, we need to go through Schulte Supply to purchase them. They're the only ones that can quote and sell us the water meter. No other vendor will even entertain quotes for it or give us quotes.
And we're using Neptune now.
Yes.
So we have the software and all the stuff for reading those meters.
Yes, we've been Neptune for 20 plus years. Sometime before I started 20 years ago, they started putting Neptune in, and Neptune was the majority of the meters in. Since then, we have changed out, and we only have just a very, very small handful, 4 or 5 off-brand meters, which will be changed out as time goes on.
And what you're looking at for 2023 amounts to a total budget of $100,279.75. I mean, I know you've got a lot of attachments on here, but on the cover sheet, purchase of 280 water meters, various sizes, budget impact $100,279.75.
That was for 280 meters?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So you're saying that this Schulte Supply is the only place that a municipality in the state of Kansas can buy water meters from?
That for Neptune, yes.
Particular one that we use.
Yeah.
Are you so I'm assuming Neptune has done the bidding processes. That's how they come up. Is that what you were saying earlier?
Neptune selected Schulte Supply. They went through the process of all that and ended up selecting Schulte Supply to be our vendor to order the meters through. This guarantees that we get the lowest cost available to us. Is basically what it comes down to. As far as since it's a new vendor, one of the things I was curious about was what was the difference between last year and this year, and it's only about 3 to 4%, which is about the standard increase that we've seen over the years. It's usually been no more than that. Well, with the exception of last year, there was about a 12% increase, but traditionally it's 3 to 4% a year.
So what do we do if we have problems with the sole source provider, like their meters are messed up or something? I mean, what if we notice a pattern of what happened?
From my understanding, Neptune is providing all of this.
Yeah.
They are just the wholesaler.
Right.
Yes.
If I have a problem with Schulte Supply, I go to Neptune and I tell Neptune to take care of it for me.
So what's our contract relation with Neptune? Because there's more than Neptune out there.
Yeah, but I think
we
one of
don't
the big
really
concerns is that we're using Neptune now,
Right,
and for the readers of it, the software kind of like
Yeah.
with the camera.
I get that, but so as a business, I'm thinking, what's our out? You know, what does Neptune have us locked in? Nothing we can do about it? Or
In a way, the answer to that is yes and no.
Second world.
It's yes, because we have a majority of their meters in our system. We have their software, we have all their hardware, all that stuff. So if we decided, we want to go with a different brand, we're starting all over.
And see, I'm a little confused with the number of municipalities that are out there with water that Neptune in their letter in our packet calls out Schulte, right?
Mm-hmm.
Schulte is in Edwardsville, Illinois, right? So that's two states away. And then if you come down to the letter from Neptune, that's not like from the general manager or anything. It's like a territory manager. They got a phone number on there. One of them is St. Louis. One of them is 479. I don't even know where the heck that area code is. But they've given Schulte, what you're saying is Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, that huge of a territory for a distribution network for commodity that's used by this number of municipalities.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in distribution. I've never seen that big of a piece of real estate given exclusivity to.
Well,
to
the
one
thing,
company.
I don't know if they have all those areas, all those states. They do have a warehouse and supply store.
But the one that's quoting us is in Illinois.
Yeah, I think that as I understand it, that's their home office. Schulte Supply is spreading out over the Midwest. The folks that I deal with are out of an Olathe store.
See, is our territory manager local? Because there's a local guy.
I saw that too. I think.
Is that the same one that's from this area?
Well, I think it's St. Louis. It says, please contact your local Schulte representative at
just knew
314.
That name.
Yes.
He's,
I'm not sure where he lives, but he's usually here about twice a year. I also have him on speed dial on my phone if I need him.
Yeah, but I mean, what it boils down to with the software requirements to read it, I mean, once you buy their gun, you can only use their bullets.
But the thing about that is that's the same way with all meter manufacturers. They're all specific.
Yeah.
If you was to look at Badger, Hershey, any of the other, they would have a very similar.
I mean, it's just like Tyler. I mean, we utilize Tyler so much, it'd be hard to change out. I mean, it's just any software.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the encouraging thing is, at least, again, going back to the equipment planning, we had looked at $100,000 in 2023 for a meter changeout program, and we're at $100,279.
Yeah.
So the request for what these guys want to get done this year, and I think even the number of meters was the same we talked about.
Actually, they may be just a little bit different, because that's one thing I try to keep close track on is just we have houses that are being demolition, torn down, so then they become empty lots, things like that. We're not going to change those meters out until there's a need for them. So we try to trim that as much as we can.
Are you pulling those meters, or are you just keeping them?
We have been, but and this is something else that I'll bring to you guys at a later time after I've gone through it with Brad. But with the new lead and copper rulings coming down and the regulations that EPA and KDHE will put on us, those will probably have to start to go. We'll probably have to start removing a lot of those. But that's another story.
When he brings that to forefront, it's going to be bad.
But there will be a lot of grants available to help with that. So, yep, yes, yep.
You're talking about the piping and everything.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
Well,
there's some new laws that have been
There
passed.
goes our brick streets.
I would move to approve the request that's in line with our 5-year future capital request for the $100,279 for the meter replacement program.
Second.
Wouldn't get up there.
At least you didn't say yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. All right, we're going to skip item H, since that is being taken care of until April or May, I think is when they're coming back. So we'll move on to item I, consideration of the banking service bids, which we
did get the bids. One of them's in the box there. I feel it's important. If you want to see them, you can see them. I feel it's important for Ben to be able to have time to study them.
Okay.
So,
Then I'm looking for a motion to move that to the next meeting.
Motion to table item I until the March
Ben, would that be enough time? March 22nd? Is that when we
24th.
24th.
Our next.
Until the next commission, the second commission meeting in March.
I like how you said
Good
that.
answer. All right, we have a motion. I'm looking for a second.
It's the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah,
March
I'm
21st.
like,
And will those be
24th is
available for
Friday.
us
It's 21st.
tomorrow or whatever?
Is that a second?
Tonight after. the
Yes, second. That is a second.
meeting? Yeah, you can.
Katie, your second. Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Item J, consideration of ground lease bids. Remember, we want to take the
Yes,
highest bid.
I was going to say, we need to really be careful on this.
Pretty close bid.
It is.
Yeah.
13,660 compared to
19,000,
13,000.
13,650. Yeah,
$10 difference.
Mm-hmm.
I would move to accept the ground lease bid, item J, in the agenda for the $13,660.
Second. From Mike, or say Mike?
Yes.
Should be Mark. Is it Mike?
Should be
From
Mark
Mike?
Fritter.
From
Yeah.
Mike Fritter. From
Maybe.
Fritter.
Okay.
Oh, mine's all lost.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Are you Mr. Fritter? Are you here to speak? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good deal.
you.
He's probably wishing you got here earlier, then you've been up on the agenda more.
Item K, Fort Scott Pavilion bids.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. We did open bids, whatever day that was, 28th. And we did get one bidder, which was Sproul's Construction. And I did send out, I recommended selecting them, but we need to discuss, I guess, maybe amending that. Since then, we did look at the option, and Sproul's provided a letter saying they would deduct $40,000 from their bid if we could do the foundation without the tie beams, which we evaluated that and we can do that. So the final bid number with that deduction would be $190,257. And then if there's questions, and the representative from Sproul's is here, he may have some. I did ask them about, because the numbers appears to be more than was budgeted. Were you able to get quotes to back off? Okay, so he is looking to get quotes to do, so the original pavilion length was 150 feet in 25-foot sections, so he was going to see what the price would be for 125, 100, maybe that was it,
That would be, I think,
to reduce cost.
yeah, very much appreciated. Absolutely. I mean, I know we've got the grant money for a portion of it, and it's something we'd like to get done sooner rather than later. But what's Field's saying, we're going to have to realize sometimes we've got champagne taste and beer money.
Well, we can also go out for some additional grants. And that being said, do you have a breakdown of how the money's going to be spent as far as the concrete anchors, how much the metal's going to cost, those different items?
If you're needing to split up that much, between, you mean like anchor bolts and?
No, like there were, as part of the project, the bases of the iron structure were going to be set in concrete, or there were going to be concrete acres in the ground. Is there a way to split that out? I'm actually looking at going after a specific grant for that, but I need to know how much that particular part of the project would cost.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
I mean, on the bid form, the foundation construction is a line item.
Okay.
Is that answer your question?
I think so. I mean, that's basically what it'd be for, wouldn't it?
Yes.
The only thing I asked is,
Yeah.
Yep.
What, that would be the full, but right.
Yeah.
Part,
Okay.
but remember, part of that, and it's not real clean to tell you that 40,000 comes off of one of those lines, because it doesn't.
Right.
It comes out of.
A little bit out of everything.
It would come out of, well, potentially line 2, 3, and 4. Not very much out of 2, obviously, but there would be some out of line 3 and 4 both.
Okay.
and then do we have like a rendering of?
Do we? Yeah. So one thing we need a rendering of what it's going to look like, and then suppose we're going to use red iron. Is that correct? And
Yeah, I wouldn't propose to build it out of wood myself at all.
I agree 100%. Can we get an idea of what that iron's going to look like?
The metal building company provides a 3D drawing.
Awesome. That's exactly what we need, because we're going to want to go to our design review board and bring this to them and allow them to take a look at it. So if you can get that to Jason to get to us, that would be greatly appreciated.
Is it, I was gonna say, is a 3D drawing of it going to actually be something that's visual, or is it just gonna be a bunch of black lines in the shape of a building?
It's a 3D drawing of the building. It has nothing to do with the landscape or any of that. They don't have color. If there's color, it's black and white.
Yeah.
What they send me. Now, he may be able to take that and do something with it.
So what color options do we have that would change? I mean,
Well, we can paint it black ourselves.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll get some volunteers. Don't.
Are you talking about the drawing itself?
Yeah, what the metal's going to look like.
So if there's color, are you gonna coat, are these beams just gonna remain red iron?
No, there was in the bid to paint them black. That's what I thought.
Paint them black. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the question I'm asking is what the iron's going to look like, and what the roofing.
They'll be
material.
tapered. There'll be a tapered frame.
Okay.
Purlins and expose the bottom side of the tin because there's no insulation. There's no wall panels or anything like that.
And then what will the metal roof material?
I believe we quoted it as galvalume, which is that kind of a speckled silver color in a 20, I don't know if it's 24 or 26 gauge with the heavier commercial gauge.
Yeah, I'll have him send me the building people's rendering.
Okay.
And if I need to clean it up and make it look prettier, I can do that.
Yes,
I mean, you understand what Jason? I mean, you've dealt with.
Yes.
Yeah. So
You understand the design review board's going to want to be able to look at it and say, this, we don't care what anything else, landscape, none of that.
Yeah.
We just want to know what the building itself is going to look like when it's put together.
Yeah, I mean,
And can that galvalume be a color? Or
I
will
can
it?
send you a color chart.
Okay.
Does that cost extra? Is
What's
that an
that?
extra fee for a colored?
No, the roof metal is normally, it can be colored or the galvalume.
Okay.
Most people in commercial buildings prefer the galvalume just because it doesn't fade like the colors will. They
Right.
give you a 40-year warranty on the color, but it still tends to fade
Yeah.
some.
I just
You can
I know
oxidize.
the people we're going to be presenting this to, so if you can get the color chart to Jason to get to us, that's
Yep.
awesome.
And
Yes,
I
sir.
will warn you that to just take that quote and divide it by the square footage and think that the smaller building is going to be comparable per square foot, it doesn't work that way because there has to be the unit prices as you get smaller, the unit prices
Go up. Right. No, I want us to find a way. I want us
Sure.
to find a way to do the whole building.
Okay.
Because that's what we want to give the people. So
Right.
Don't just do
Okay.
the small portion.
I got some people that can do fundraising, and I'll get on the grants.
And what, I'll ask,
More all.
so this quote, I guess we need to make sure You know, bids are typically good for 60 days.
60 days.
So that was in the bid. So are we still good? I know that's going to be a challenge with steel prices.
You can print that all you want. Most quotes I get, now the metal buildings, they're holding them a little bit longer.
Okay.
But rebar quotes, all those kind of things, they're good for the day that I get them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's nothing I can do
I
about that. And we take that gamble, that risk, that the longer it takes to get the contract, some of those are going to change.
Right.
And I'm going to be very upfront that here's what they were when I bid it, and here's what they are now, and the time frame it took to get a contract. And we'll just see what.
And if we decide to move forward on this, what's our time frame on?
Start to finish.
Once we have approved drawings, we're usually in the 8 to 10 weeks to get the building. This one might be faster because there's less components to it. As far as us being able to do the work, it's as soon as we can get the building.
Okay. Awesome. I like it. Anybody else have questions?
We need to make a motion to table it.
Yeah, you'll have to table the
Yes.
approving the bid.
Right now, we've got to go. We've got to get the drawings,
Right.
go to the design review board, and then we've got to get the committee, and then go back. So.
Well, and then there was we were looking at the
Yeah, how long would it take you
smaller
to come back
options.
with a smaller option?
If I push them, maybe, I don't know, week and a half, hopefully.
And
another
so,
week,
Jason,
week
you
and a
can get us something back here.
Can
So,
you do 2 weeks?
do you think by next meeting, 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's 2 weeks.
You think we can do it by?
I just have to play it by ear. If I get it,
Let's
that
just
week
table
before.
it. I'll make a motion to table it to next meeting, and then for some reason if it doesn't happen, then we'll just.
Yep, second.
We're tabling it for 2 weeks. Voting. Edwin.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hooky,
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you for coming in, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
We appreciate you very much. It's a guy you don't want to make mad.
all right, I feel.
Jason, you're going to talk to us about the sewer project.
Yes, sir. So again, we opened bids on the 28th. We did receive 3 bids, and I provided a summary of those bids. We did have a base bid, an ad alternate 1, and an ad alternate 2. And with all those together, which we recommend keeping those together, the low bidder is Bennett Incorporated for $1,364,378. And the portion of this with the CDBG grant was $600,000.
What was the difference if we did the asphalt and you said Tri-State would be the?
Yeah, so Bennett, they actually did have a pretty good price. Ad alternate for the paving, which includes the gravel, was $153,540. And the next, well, not even the next lowest, the TriStar number for the ad alternate 2 was $285,087. So almost double. And I did talk to Brad a little bit about it. The concern, last year the street crews did prep work for Cape Seal on 50 blocks approximately. This year you're up to like 113, 117, and they're still doing Cooper Street. So, and they were able to, at the end of the season, they got in there and did the Old Faithful project payment. So, I mean, it was pushing them.
It would really be, if we didn't have a deadline on this.
Yeah.
We could easily do it.
Yeah, and with the grant money.
But with the grant money and the deadline, and Cooper and the Cape Seal, which has gone out for bid, it's gonna be tough. I mean, it'll be a challenge. But
Well, and it would only save us approximately less than $100,000 anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
That's
What's
3
that?
workers for the year.
But we also have to get, because it's
I
a
know.
grant project, we have to get it done in a certain amount of time. No, you're good. I like it. Bring the pain.
Machinery.
And we did get time frames as well. So another good thing, I think Bennett had the fastest turnaround. If I can find that.
What, on this, how much are we gonna have to do on this, Jason? Is this turnkey, or are we
Nothing.
gonna have to do any type of underground work or?
No,
to
the
prep?
only, and I've talked to Bill previously, there is part of the permit approval with the state. There was a 2-inch water line that was too close. So kind of upfront, and Bill would like to just coordinate with Bennett. So when they're in there it's in an alley. So this 2-inch water line needs to be relocated so that it meets the permit requirements. So there is a little piece, but it's not, normally it wouldn't be that way, but yeah, their start date was set to be May 1st. And then calendar days, substantial completion was 150 days. So they're pretty aggressive in their schedule.
Was this the grant where you went up there and grabbed the check? When was this grant awarded? I can't remember.
It's been a while ago.
Yeah, I think that's the big.
We
check.
started the report 2 years ago, so. Which is normal. That's kind of the process.
Well, we're looking for a motion to move forward on this project with the grant money and with our match.
Which I wasn't involved. Ben, are we okay with the match on this? Okay, all right.
Yep, so I'll make the motion to accept the low bid of, as presented on the paper from Bennett Incorporated.
Jason, we have any concerns that we're going to run into anything that might make them leave and have to remobilize and come back here?
No, what Bennett tries to look for these types of larger jobs every year. So they come in and focus on that job. And we've dealt with them over the years, different communities.
I would say it's nice. I mean, this is what for so long we didn't go out for CDBG grants, and so this is the fruit of it from going out and doing it. Like I said, it's a long process. So
yes,
to receive $600,000 from the state.
Yeah, I would second the motion.
Tim Van.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Any more discussion? Tim Van Hookie,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
I was just saying, I think the big check's still back there by the printer.
Matthew tried to cash it.
Try to cash it. Yeah, cash now.
Yeah.
And final item on the new business is consideration of the RFQ for the US 54 clip. Is that you as well?
Yes, sir. I think this is the one, the KDOT C-Clip program they do every year. Again, this one goes back only a year, but we met with KDOT staff, and we proposed alternates. At one point we wanted to look at trying to mill and overlay and patch some of the bad spots all the way to the city limits, and we were pushing it to do that for $1 million. Since then, they've changed the program to 1.5 million, and that's what was approved. We're still waiting on the scheduling from the state, but with that process, we were required to submit statements of qualifications, and we sent that through the city staff, and it was advertised. And as far as I'm aware, we were the only respondent to that. So talking to Brad, we wanted to just get the thing moving.
Jason, is that certification of indirect cost, is that your contract? Is that 33%? Is that
Yes.
your cost?
That's our, so because it's a state project, every year they're required that consultants provide their, and what, that's kind of the overhead number. So through audits, that's a certified number from 2022.
From the state?
That the state uses. So anytime we do a state contract, which is different than a lot of different contracts, but what they have, you do a base pay rate, which is kind of salary, hourly cost. Then you have overhead, which is that number. So that's a multiplier. Then you have a fixed fee, which is basically profit.
Kind of like with the airport bid.
Just like the airport bid, yeah.
And have we entered into the contract with you?
No, that's what we're here for. Or at least
what
consideration.
this is. So the total cost of that, of your engineering is what?
What do we got? So design, and this all tracks back to the 1302 form that was sent to KDOT, I think in November. But total design fee is $104,000, and part of that program includes construction engineering, which is on-site inspection full time for $184,000. That's hourly, so that'll be not to exceed that.
Plus the indirect cost, or
that's all included.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's about
for a total of $288,000.
So
and that takes you through.
So that's about 20%. No.
Yeah.
20%.
A little more than that.
So we're approving this contract. We're approving your contract.
If you desire.
So this is just Wall Street to Barbie, right?
A whole quarter mile.
So
Quarter mile for 200.
So when we go out for our next one,
yeah.
And if we we get the next one, we'll have to do this all again.
So I will talk to the state. So what normally happens, because this is a piece of a larger project, the, I guess, hope for us as a consultant is to take, you went through a selection process of sorts, even though we didn't get any other engineers, but if we get this one going, then we will help apply for the next piece and moving forward through, I think,
facilitate
4 or 5
all,
years.
all 4 phases till we get out to the end, which is what, yes.
So, but we have to do them piecemeal because of the funding.
Right.
Which has, they increased it by 50%, which really just covers all the cost increases over the last 2 years, pretty much. But that's kind of how that landed. But I'll talk to KDOT and see, because there wasn't guarantees, but there's assurances that because this is part of a larger project, they encouraged us to submit every year for the next piece and the next piece. So we're hopeful that it's just going to be programmed to finish it to the city limits.
Yeah.
But
did they give us a time frame when they want to be started this?
when we did the last form, I think we wanted it to bid in April of 2024. And part of that process for the city, and I don't know if he sent it to you, Hugh with the state. So you have 2 options. You can let the state bid it on your behalf, which is fine, or you can get LPA certified to bid it at the city level. So that's up to you guys.
We want to let the state handle it.
Yeah, which is fine. But then that's why the last thing I asked the state was, what's your schedule officially? Because that hasn't been released yet. But we did, when we sent it in, we said we'd like it to bid in April of 2024.
But we will start the process for the next section this year.
Yeah, so end of this month, applications are due. So we'll work on those with you guys and get that sent. And then that process just cycles back So they'll come out.
We get that done next week, so we have it to approve at the next meeting, correct?
Yeah, I can have it for next meeting.
All right, we're looking for a motion to move forward on the design phase and award the contract to Earl's Engineering.
Where is that breakdown of cost in this? Am I just missing it? Or, you said 104,000, 184,000 for a total of 288,000 pounds.
Yeah, so the break.
Actually see it.
Yeah, design breakdown. So the survey, which includes the right of way, laying everything out, is 12,000. And then we just break it up: preliminary design for 51,000, final design 34, and then get it ready to bid, and through the bid is 7,000. And I can look at, I guess, what the state would need to break down for that inspection, but like I said, that's next summer.
And
at
what's
the
our
earliest.
discount since you work for the city?
That is kind of discounted.
That is our discount
already. And really, honestly, so we review our rates every year. So again, this was last year's numbers, and we're not changing them. So.
Right. And it's in line with what the grant is putting forward for the engineering.
Yeah. So
portion.
and the C-CLIP, this program, because it's geometric improvement, is that 1.5 million limit, which does cover engineering, utilities, right of way, inspection at a 90-10 split.
Okay.
So the city's share is 10%, up to 1.5 million.
Question is the right of ways, is there acquisition of right of way?
We don't anticipate any. We actually had 0 for that on that
And just so I'm
application.
double checking, trouble, the 1.33 that you factor in, that's that's the number you give to the state.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's indirect costs.
Right.
Plus,
Right.
plus accepted costs.
Yeah.
Well, since it's part of the actual grant, and you are the only ones, and we need to move forward on this, I will go ahead and make the motion that we move forward and grant you the contract for the engineering. Is there a second?
Yeah, how much is our portion of this?
Like 150,000.
Yeah, of the total, and I think the final form, the final number, including through construction, was 1.650 million.
So 156,000.
So whatever difference that makes, because the KDOT has a limit.
So I'm going to sound like a recording, but is this turnkey?
Yes.
And what about underground?
That's what, if there's utility costs, it would be part of our deal. But the only, unless you want to move some utilities ahead of time, there won't be a need for that.
Okay.
Because we're narrowing the road, we do have to relocate a couple of storm sewer inlets and reconnect the outflow pipe, but we can look at that with you.
Have we looked to see if there's water lines going underground through Wall Street?
Pretty sure there is.
Because okay. All right.
Add that to your list, Brad.
Put those overhead.
You say water. Run right with the electric.
I want to tear up a pretty road.
Yeah.
No, not really. We'll try to keep the profile.
Again, there's been a motion. We're looking for a second to proceed.
I second the motion.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Again, we appreciate it. I know that it seems like a high price tag, but that's a year. I mean, we'll be working on this for a year, so it's a process.
Bob, you rethinking your numbers? You know.
I would never come after you like that, Bob. I have too much respect for you.
Well, I'm glad you did. Now it's on the table.
Yeah.
You didn't have to bring it up.
Moving on. We have the city manager comments.
So before we go into too much of I talked to Bob just right here briefly, and there's no need for us to go to executive session for this. So I'd like to talk, like I said, with Mike's proposal or his slideshow, we have talked about this, and we've talked at length about this, and there is a need. There is a real need for us to figure out how we can provide our firefighters more on their paychecks. And yeah, we went through a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different proposals how to do it, and it is, like I said earlier, you've got to have some kind of spacing in there, because you just really can't have everybody crunched up into one pile, or you're just going to have what we have. Thank you. Here, you guys might as well help. Take a look at it. So with this, what we've also looked at is what can we give up? On the CIP, we had a vehicle that we were going to purchase for this year. We're going to hold off on that. UTV, we're going to hold off on that. One thing we have not, and Dave and Mike can talk about it more, is our EMS services. There's money there that can go towards this. Ben, chime in. The total for this wage difference would be $47,000. And I've asked Ben to really chime in on where the money can come from and how this can be possible to where we can get in the game to where we don't lose any more valuable people. And Tim hit it. Tim hit it on those. We do have a great fire department, but what we have are dedicated people that love what they're doing. They love being here in Fort Scott. They love working for this city and protecting us. But you have to fend for your family too. And if we don't help these guys, they may be forced to have that decision. And we don't want that. And so we don't want to lose anybody else. We want to continue building this family. And as you can tell, 10 plus years, 9 plus years, 20 plus years, 25 plus years, 15 years, we have got some very experienced members that have put a lot of time in for us. And they work 24 hours a day. Like Mike said, they work 24/7, because if we have a fire, they're there. They're coming. Not just the 3 that are on duty. Everybody's coming. That's just their job. That's what they sign up for. So, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we talked about it, I got it on. When we talked about it, fire chief said that we spend $80,000 in overtime. For the last 3 years, we spent that much. Most of that's coverage with the fire chief actually fighting fires and coverage. What we're thinking is if you get to a transition where you're not turning people over, their estimate is dropping around 20 grand out of that overtime, which makes it pull it out of overtime, put it up in wages, right? So that's almost half of that number. Then the rest of it, you've got sales tax in 23 that are budgeted lower than where we came in 22 by around 10 to 15,000. So those are 2 areas that you could fund this out of right now. You've got 150,000 in equipment and improvements that I can't find any documents as to what they are for in 2023 in the general fund. That can be dropped to fund this. Long term, we'd be looking at growth in revenue. And the next thing, like Jeff had mentioned, the next thing we would do is actually plug this into your long-term forecast, which is next on the list for us to go through and do to get ready for the budget process. I'm comfortable funding this now in 2023. I don't think you really have a choice with what they've got in turnover.
My uncle was a fireman for 40 years down in Oklahoma City, and he worked 24 hours on, 24 hours off, and in his 24 hours off, he welded nonstop to help support his family. So I agree that it is something that we need to do. If you know any of these guys, which I know quite a few of them, they're all excellent individuals, including even the two that have only a year in there. I believe at least one of those is going to be there for life because he's that kind of guy. So I'm 100% in on giving these guys a raise.
I know which.
The only objection I have is that I think it falls short on what they deserve.
Oh, definitely falls short.
So I'd like to see us
So, Ben,
make sure we do more for them in the future.
Well, I will chime in there. With what we're doing, as you can tell by the captains, they're still not where they should be. So I'm not going to say names. That's not fair. But there is a gentleman that will be retiring this year that is making a lot more than the others. So once he drops off of our wages, then we'll have a little bit of money to where we can put on to the captains. And we're not talking use all of it, but
It'd probably be at least a year before we have that money though, because
you got
paid out and other expenses.
Yeah.
Are you going to promote within?
On the
This-
captain?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll
You're
start.
not going to outsource, go to.
No, we have a panel that we'll bring in from outside, and we're gonna probably start that at the end of April. So we have it in preparation.
So the one change that I don't know how we could make is that I would prefer to see that one going up to like even closer to $13.25 so that we can get the starting wage closer to $13.
Well, and I will say, and Mike will probably yell at me,
That
but
one is the new. I asked about.
and I want to reiterate, I know that being worked before a lot on this, but
Right, but if we're gonna
there is built-in overtime.
Yeah.
There is. The paper doesn't show overtime.
Correct.
Which,
Yeah, you know, and you get there's two sides to this. So you get the people that say, oh, they get overtime, oh, they get paid to sleep. You're still away from your family. You know, you're still working 800 extra hours a year to make that much less than, say, going to Walmart or extrusions for 15, 16 bucks an hour. There is a comparable rate if you want to look at it, as far as like somebody working a 40-hour work week. But, you know, like I said, I'm proud of my job. I love what I do. I didn't sign up for the money, and my family knew it. Like he said, we all have secondary jobs. I run a woodworking company to do what I have to. I know half my guys mow and do everything on the side too. So, but
I just want to, you know, as over every department, you know, a lot of these guys will be getting $5 an hour raises from 2 years ago, because some of these were $2 less. A couple because we bumped them up $2. A lot of them.
Not essentially. No, I think it was only like $1.18 for a couple of them.
And then the year before, me and you went through that whole thing, and so
They didn't get moved.
It never got moved.
No, they didn't get moved till the ordinance came through, and we didn't have this conversation. Unfortunately, this never happened. And then it just kind of, so this gap here, it just went like the low guys went to 10, and then the upper guys just got like 60, 50, 40. You know, so it just kind of went by the wayside, unfortunately. And it's nobody's fault. It just we didn't get this opportunity to come to you guys so we could put numbers out there.
And I can be yelled at for saying it, but there was a reason you get that opportunity, because prior people here would not present it to us. You put a lot of time and effort in that, and you had a good plan to bring to the commission, and it never got brought to us. Because internally we were saying this was, and I think this might even be before you're here, and so I just assumed, because it was within the pay range to give without going to the commission.
I think so, if I remember.
So
It just
so
we
we were
just
told
had
it was going to happen because it's within the pay range. So I apologize, it never happened.
it's okay. We're
Yeah.
patient, but
So-
you know, we were waiting on the commission was kind of having some turmoil. The city managers were kind of having some turmoil, so we were letting the things relax. And now that we got a strong group, we were like, okay, everybody's working together. We're getting the
Came in
conversation
here and
started.
stirred up the dust again.
I know. Now I'm here firing everything up. So
My only thing with this is, like I said, I would like to get that starting wage closer to 13 if it's at all possible.
I'd like to get Jeff's, because in my job, I'm looking at this stuff all the time, and there are some I mean, you said that capital equipment fund and tax revenue, that we're good to go with this, but aren't you seeing anything recent, and I'm not trying to shut this down, recently, you know, the interest rates and in particular discretionary spending by people, which of course absolutely affects the town's tax revenue, is kind of, are you confident that our projection of what we're making from the standpoint?
Nothing's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing is a guarantee.
But I mean, have you seen these indicators that are out there now saying that?
I have. And what we've seen is unusual in the fact that sales tax continues to climb.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 5 clients that are about the same size as Fort Scott.
Yeah.
And they have historically run around 2 to 3% increases, very modest increases in their sales tax. They're running 5 to 6%. One of them's at 12% just in January alone.
Yeah.
And which is above and beyond what January of last year was.
We'll have a better
But
understanding.
maybe that's
quarterly,
impacting
right?
us here.
That's
Nationally,
coming
though, they're seeing the opposite.
Exactly.
They're seeing discretionary spending and those tax revenues that are coming
Starting
in
to fall off.
to fall off.
Yeah, and the way we
So-
looked at your budget.
We are.
I will say
We're going to see our
Massive.
quarterly numbers
We
See
have
if they'll send us a check.
increase.
Yeah, our transit guest tax has leveled off. It's actually lower, so you can kind of see the beginning of a trend.
You can.
So,
And what we typically do, and when we did the first blush, I ran out of power on the laptop, but when we did the first blush of a forecast on your bigger revenues, your property tax, just natural organic growth on property tax, not levy, your and sales tax, franchise fees, the ones that go up, we run around 1%, which sometimes, well, it really kind of staves off that dip, if you will.
Yeah. And Brad had already talked about us not getting the vehicle this year, which pretty much covers this anyway.
I will say, you know, on property taxes, the last 2 years we have dropped mill levy to offset any revenue. So hopefully we can stay.
And like I said, I'm
Sales
not
tax or something.
I'm not saying the sky is falling, but I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't the only one that has looked at and seen these trends that are happening. And fortunately, to your point, it's not affecting us now, but it very well could.
Absolutely.
Well, now's a good time to do that forecasting, then, so you'll feel more confident.
Well, and don't forget, you have cash carryover $400,000 that was unforecasted last year in 22.
Plus, yeah.
So that kind of proves that some of those revenues are not being they're off the forecast.
Okay. Somebody make a motion.
Wait,
Oh, well, I was just going to touch base. Matt, we were talking about, you wanted it to get to 13, where we were starting, you know, we thought 12. That's untrained. So if a guy were to come in, get his Fire 1 and 2, go to Hutchison, or we in-house train them, they could potentially get a 3% for getting those certifications. They get their EMT, that's another 3%. And then by the end of the year, or they get their driver operator, which is a big certification to drive these big trucks, that's another 3%. So that right there is 1308-ish.
Okay.
In a year's time for those guys to get certified, you know, because I'm comfortable hiring in somebody with no education at that. If they were certified, yeah, they would absolutely need to be paid more.
Okay.
Again, the problem with that is where these guys are going. You're bumping this guy a 3 and a 3 and a 3, while these other guys are still just.
If you're comfortable with this, and this will get you what you need, then
I'm comfortable. I will say I'll take anything at this point. Do I agree it should be more like Mr. Wolhoff? Absolutely. Me personally, I think it should be 3 across the board if we're moving everybody up. But again, I understand finances, and maybe we make a plan of action of a 6, 12, 18 month. Where can we get you guys, and how do we get you there? That's really all I'm asking. And then those guys, I tell you what, they're pretty patient and they're a great group of people, and they're going to appreciate anything we
Well,
can give them. So
what I would like to see, Mike, from a new hire standpoint, and I don't know if we need to get verbiage or if we can even do it, maybe check with Bob, is to make that commitment, what we're going to spend on that training to get them to that level.
Mhm.
I want almost like a contract of,
Yeah,
if you leave prior to this amount of months,
Right.
then you will reimburse us for
Similar
the
to
training we paid for.
Similar to the police
yeah,
department.
and I don't think we got to reinvent
totally
the
agree
wheel.
with
I
that.
think we can reach out and see if any of these other Southeast Kansas towns or somebody else
Yeah.
that has something like that, and just copycat and implement it. I have a
'Cause
problem with that. Yeah, yeah, it protects us and the city.
I'm not sure legally we can do what's being requested. I
What-
don't know that.
How does the police department do that?
The police department state statute. Yep.
Municipality.
So we really don't even,
But I think we need to check.
Yeah, because if
Okay.
we're going to invest the hours and the money and the resources to train somebody up so
Yep.
they can run over to Nevada or wherever.
But if you keep hiring good quality guys, I think that won't be an issue.
Or girls.
Or
There
Or
you go.
gals.
It's
yeah.
been
Just need to put
Yeah.
that
it's
verbiage
been
out there.
14 years since we've had a female at the Fort Scott Fire Department.
was that
We've had a couple candidates try. They fortunately couldn't pass a physical agility test. So, but they attempted it twice. So we don't
really
discriminate.
don't even need a motion for this because it's all within the salary ordinance and the
Yes.
wage schedule and
Yep, it's all in there. Okay.
We move forward.
As long as it's within those parameters.
and no budget amendment or nothing. So.
Then the manager has
Yeah.
authority.
All right.
With our blessings, tell them
I
yes.
appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. So, just a few other things, then we're gonna get that. Snyder Electric, I've been in contact with Snyder Electric. I have asked them to come to the next meeting because I was not here when they did the proposal on the cost savings. So I want them to come and propose it again to see if we are actually saving money on their product or services, whatever. So they'll be here the next meeting. Also, I did touch on the Memorial Hall steps. I will have a gentleman here on the next meeting to talk about that. We've had conversations with him, and they've given us a firm number that I think you'll be happy with. Microphone system, they will be here on Friday or Thursday, next Thursday and Friday to get that done. So it's going on. Last thing, I went over to, I think this is how I've always known it, Iron Quill Apartments. I think is that the official name of it? Iron Quill Apartments. They've been having water trouble before I even come to the city for a couple of years now. Went over there, looked at the problem. Band-aid it. We can do it pretty easy by just digging along a sidewalk up on Ellis. But to fix it right, I'll have to get Jason involved and we'll have to go over and look at it. But we can get the water away from the apartments by doing what I proposed to Jerry, just Band-aiding it and at least getting the water. Now, we haven't had a good rainfall in the past, so we'll see. But we'll get that done in the next couple of weeks. Last thing, Cooper Street is going really good. I put a video on Facebook of the new machine. I've seen it on Gold Rush, but that thing can really rip some ground up. I mean, it really does rip the ground up. So it's going really fast right now. So the guys out there are doing really good. So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the confidence in promoting me. I will do everything I can not to let you down. And the city's going forward. We're not looking back. So thank you.
Remember what they say on Gold Rush, though, Brad. If that piece of equipment goes down, it could end their season.
It could. But somehow they always make it work.
That's pretty much a drinking game for every time that guy says that during that show. If they can't fix it, it could end their season.
On your city manager report, I just got one thing, the RV parking update. And I know I keep harping on it today, and I'm sorry. The electrician's been picked out to do the thing.
We've had a couple.
Okay.
Yes, we've had three of them.
Lucky three.
Yeah.
We've
And
had
then
3 people.
Second question, you know where Iron Quill comes from, the name?
No.
I do. Go ahead.
Eugene Ware's pen name.
Oh, really?
Old Iron Quill.
Eugene
I didn't
Ware,
know
that's
that.
his pen name.
He was a famous poet and wrote a bunch of stories after he came and lived here over on that house. Second Nettie over there. He built that house in 1861 and lived here the rest of his life. There's a fireplace in the back corner where he supposedly would lean upon it as he composed his prose and poetry that made him famous.
Neat. That's neat. Yeah, I didn't know that. Been here all my life. I didn't know that one. Real quick, this is just a rough draft of the performance measures. Just look at it and give me any feedback in the next couple weeks.
Any updates on those iPads?
iPads, I talked to IT. They're looking at them. They're looking at them. So I'll have an update by next. We may even have them by then.
Used and refurbished, right?
Yes. Now, Tim, you've got one. Is that city or yours?
It's the city.
Okay. All right.
It used to belong to Dr. Nichols.
Okay. Those measurements, we have not done, in the past, not done a real good job on some of the measurements. We're going to do a lot better going forward. So,
Are you okay with suggestions? Any of us have any suggestions?
yes, I do. Or do I have a problem?
Yeah, probably.
Well, no, I don't have a problem. I thought you meant no.
Okay.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
It looks pretty good.
But yeah, go ahead and look those over in the next couple of weeks and call me, email me,
As
come
Jeff
see
was
me.
saying, I think, we keep it simple, don't make the guys put too much work into it.
How many tickets were given out? Do you know if we're boating?
For boating, I have not got that yet. That's one I do not have yet.
That just was one of
The boating license, permits. Oh, wait a minute. That one's not on there. UTV golf courts are.
boating permits. They're sold, but there's not any for tickets.
Oh, I'll get that from Tom. I'll put that on there. Boat tickets. Yeah, stuff like that, please don't hesitate to ask, and we can put that on there because it would be good information.
General comment on those performance, and I've gone through that over my career. You don't want to ever get to a stage where you're spending all your time doing measuring, and some people have. I went through that, but if you, in general, if you can find 3 or 4 that really compare what your department and what you're trying for them to do, that's usually the best way. As Josh said, keep it simple. You don't want to just measure to measure.
All right. Jason, did you have any more comments for us this evening?
Quickly. I guess first, congratulations to Brad for being full-fledged city manager. Now, more work, I suppose. The only update, a couple, with the treatment plant work, I did reach out and ask for references from that Ray Lindsay company, like Edwin had asked about it, of where they've installed these grit removal systems. So as soon as I get that, I'll send it through to Brad, and he can send it out. I did look, so that total cost on the C-Clip Phase 1 did include $140,000 for utilities work. So I must have looked at that at some point.
So we can move the water lines.
I just think
Hopefully,
we need to
a couple feet of them.
maybe look at replace the existing.
Oh, 100%.
Because I just think
Let's do it while it's torn up.
Yeah. Last thing. I don't know if you get calls, but 15th and National, we still got those inlet boxes just hanging out. We've been reaching out constantly to the phone company and the gas company. there's been movement with the phone company. They've got a design, apparently. So I'm waiting for them to tell me when they're coming out to move they've got some copper lines to move across 15th and over on Crawford and 17th with that ditch work is the gas company. And I reached out again today. So
If you,
Still
when you
pending.
say you reach out, are you talking to somebody or?
I'll call, leave a message, I'll email, and just that's all I got.
So you have a
I guess I
contact,
could-
you have contact?
I do.
Could you send them to me?
I will.
Because I'll just give
If
it
you're
a try.
bored, just keep calling them.
Yeah, I know several people.
So yeah,
Somebody.
we dug in and tried to find, who's locally responsible. And the issue with the phone company is all the design is now entirely in Wichita for the state. So they kind of divvy up what they're doing, but they contract the work out to somebody else. So that's another level of issues, but we are still trying to get that moving. But yeah, if there's any question, that's all I got.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Next is our commissioner comments, or do we want to do the executive session first?
You might as well do the comments.
Okay.
Get them over with.
All right, let's start out with Edwin Wolhoff this evening.
I'm glad you started with me since I actually have something.
Awesome.
I actually have three things, but I'm actually asking about one. So not to beat a dead horse, but doing the work session or several work sessions for the comprehensive and strategic planning would be one of my number one priorities. So that's really all I want to mention, that I want to make that happen yesterday. So
Do we want to go ahead and set up a work session to get that started?
So
We
are
have
people
one-
good with other Tuesdays? Non?
they work
Can
fine for
be.
me.
I may have to Teams call in for it, but
My suggestion had always been that we have a commission meeting one week, and then the next Tuesday have a work session, and just swap those back and forth until we get everything done that we want to get done. But
I will say before we schedule another one, that I was gonna ask my time, are we have a work session next meeting on Tuesday?
yes,
I was gonna ask if we could move that. CHC wanted to do a walkthrough of their building at 5 PM before they open it with the commissioners, and then they're gonna present at the meeting. So they just reached out and asked if we would be available to do a walkthrough of their building, just to show it to us and everything at 5 PM before the meeting.
when do we want to move the work session to?
I don't know. We don't
You want
have
to do it
move
next Tuesday?
No, it's a spring break. Can't
Nope.
do it. I won't
Sorry.
be in town.
Okay.
Or you guys could do it, but I won't be.
we can stay after the regular scheduled meeting.
And
We
probably
could.
meeting before that at 4 is probably too early.
Yeah, it
It'll
is.
be a bit too early for me.
Yeah, I mean, we don't.
Hey, if we have to move the work session out a week or two, that's okay.
Do it the
Okay.
following week.
Does everyone remember what the next work session was about?
We were going to go over our different committees,
Advisory committee.
Advisory
Right.
boards.
Boards or whatever you call them.
Talk about those.
And maybe we can just, we have a, you want a work session on lake property, comprehensive study, advisory committee, and so maybe just good, not on the spot, just to poll us to, well, I mean, just to get a time frame, we all can look at our schedules or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, the next important one besides the advisory committees is codes
Yep.
violations.
I know before we used to alternate Tuesdays, and just
Yeah.
said hour 15 max, so we're not here, but that didn't work for everyone.
Another way too of if someone wants to take the lead on a particular subject, right, and then present it to the other commissioners through the proper channels, not violating coma, for review, that's another option as well.
I love that. Like, if, lake property, if you have some ideas, you can put it together, give to Lisa, she can send it out to us before the work
Yeah,
session.
I've got
I
codes.
think it'll speed things up, codes.
On advisory boards, you're
You're wanting to see who's on their years?
Yeah, I'd like to know who, I had mentioned the lease because, who's been on them and for how long? Because some of these things, it's exactly spells out, may not serve consecutive terms the whole 9 yards, but it seems like there's some folks, and I'm not saying they're not doing a good job, but they've been on there forever.
And then what all the boards are, how their terms are set up,
How they meet.
Yeah, I mean, they're right there pretty
functions
much in order in the
And-
ordinances.
And what,
Some,
and
like the plumbing and electric board probably haven't met, I know, at least 2 years. 'Cause that's all I've been here.
some of them you may want to do away with.
yeah, we
It's
may want to
all
do away with, or we may combine them. Or,
I know I'm going to throw this out. I'm not going to be around much longer, but you can always forward that to your staff, and then have them do a report back, and have it on an agenda item, and then that way that gives you time to study. I'm just saying use your staff, and I know that Brad's need to get that other person hired, but that's just a thought too.
All right, so our two items that we need to figure out right now is one, are we going to move the regularly scheduled work session from next meetings Tuesday to another day? And then when can we get one on the schedule for these other items? Or do we want to direct staff to bring these items to us as agenda items? What is the consensus?
Well, I think we'd have to spell out
I like-
what we wanted staff to do.
Yeah, I like Tim, or, we can put something out there, share it with staff also. Staff can have their opinions ready at the work session also.
Like I said, I would
Instead
be
of just
happy to
the
take on
free-for-all.
codes violations and our current process right now. Design review board shouldn't be that tough. I mean, it's right there in the municipal ordinances, who they are, what they do, and what their terms are. I think it would be a case again of formulating in your head.
Right.
Well, it's a lot of things, like the planning commission, we have a comprehensive study, we never follow up on, as simple as, hey, you guys need to meet and tell us how we're doing.
Again, right now, what I'm wanting to get accomplished is, are we going to move the meeting on the 21st? Is the consensus among
The work session.
The work session.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are we going to move that to April 4th, which would be the next Tuesday, or are we going to move that to the following Tuesday, the 28th, and start alternating a few Tuesdays to get some work sessions?
I would suggest the 28th.
Okay.
The only thing I like about the other Tuesday, if we have a couple,
Mhm.
maybe it's too long, if you can tie 2 in at once.
We could probably do 2 work sessions at once. And
I know government works slow and
Knock
it's
at it.
frustrating
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, but if we're doing it every other Tuesday, we're not doing it before we have to go into this meeting.
Then we
maybe
have a
can
little extra
actually-
time. Yeah.
We could take 2 hours on those Tuesdays
Okay.
instead of just 1 hour before.
All right. Well, do I have a motion to set up a work session on the 28th? How about that?
I'll give you a motion to set up a work session on April 4th.
I wasn't asking for that yet, Tim. But thank you. Do we have a second?
No, the 4th.
No, he motioned the 4th. That will be the one about the advisory board.
Yep.
In April.
At 5 o'clock.
Okay.
April 4th.
Yes.
April 4th, yes. We'll take the one from the 21st and move it to the 4th.
We have a second?
Yes.
Yep.
Katie Harrington? Yes. Josh Jones?
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey?
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff?
Yes.
Matthew Wells?
Yes. And then on the 11th, can we go ahead and have a work session so that we could cover a couple of things, spend some time on it? It's an alternate Tuesday in between our 2 regularly scheduled commission meetings.
Need to be a Teams meeting for me.
Can Lisa ask us here after, just so I can make sure?
Yeah, that's fine.
No, but they're probably closed the Friday
I think
before Good Friday.
Yeah.
So Lisa, will you send us out an invite for the 11th to put together a work session?
Did we get a motion in a
And what are
second
we
for
gonna
that?
try to cover? Planning codes or?
On the 11th, I was hoping we could do your suggestion and go over the comprehensive plan, take a minute and go through the 2018 comprehensive plan, see what items from that, and move forward with that. And then I would suggest then on the 25th, we have another work session again, that's an alternate Tuesday. And on that one, we'll go over codes.
Edwin, have they given you a copy of that? 2000. So is that, I mean, are we talking?
Can we send that out digitally? Can we?
I don't know.
There's no digital version.
There are.
Are you talking about comp plan or are you talking about
Both. There are 9 copies down at
There, the bottom of Memorial.
I think we've got one here.
comp plan? Everyone should look at the comp plan. And that, you don't need to talk about that. Pardon me.
That's fine. We have the 2018 comprehensive plan. We'll make sure you get a copy of it. Brad will. And then I'd still like to suggest we have that strategic planning meeting then on the 25th or the 11th, sorry.
And on, if I might,
Yes.
you just need to, if you want to have a strategic plan, you just need to figure, you can figure out how to do it or get somebody come in and do it for you. I mean, it's a, strategic, that may take a little bit longer. And maybe,
the strategic plan that was put together in 18 was probably a 9-month process.
that's a comp plan.
Okay, the comp plan, yeah.
Comp plan is your comprehensive plan that guides all your zoning decisions, and where the community is going. A strategic plan is really gets into you and the department directors and goals and objectives for what your priorities are and where you want to go.
And that's my concern with doing that this soon. I think there's some other things we talked about that probably should be done before we revise the strategic plan.
Okay.
Because I think what you're doing is then you're going back and forth.
All right. Then what would you suggest we go over on the 11th? Would you prefer to do the codes talk then?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I think so much of where our deficiencies are in our plans and what's enforced is within.
I like that just as well. Yes. All right. Is everyone in a consensus that we'll have her send us out an invite for the 11th? For
5 o'clock or 6 o'clock? 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
I would say go ahead and meet at 6 the normal time. And then we won't have to be here all night because it'll be a work session. All right, we can worry about scheduling something else next time.
So there's nothing on the 25th.
I would like to go ahead and set up a work session TBD. There's about 20 different things we can have a work session about.
Okay. Like I said, I will make all these I can. You do realize I travel.
Oh,
Okay.
if you're willing.
You scheduling things every week, that makes it a little difficult.
Oh, I understand. If you're willing to team in with us on a
When
video
I can,
conference.
but sometimes you actually take clients out to dinner and stuff like that.
Don't do it on Tuesday.
Yeah. Just tell them. I can't take you out for dinner. Matthew's got a work session going for us. I'd be like, who the hell's Matthew?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My priority right now is the city. I'm just focusing on what's important.
Oh, don't even. I'll pull that hat down over your eyes so freaking quick.
All right. Edwin, did you have anything else? Okay. All right. Tim, what do you have for us this evening?
First of all, I'd like a motion that you can't wear a hat at the city commission table. I think it's disrespectful to the people that we represent. We should be, appropriately dressed. No. First, I wanted to thank the folks that have been supporting the fish fry for Mary Queen of Angels Church. We've had a fantastic turnout. You may have seen the remainder of the church is down now, which is extremely sad, but it's also the beginning, of rebuilding it. So if you haven't been to the fish fry on Friday, come out. Some pretty good stuff. And then I wanted to kick around the idea with Brad and get you all's input to see if have we ever done in Fort Scott like a spring big garbage pickup?
Yes.
To where we can have people schedule, we can put a notice out there as far as what's allowed and what's not allowed, and then we can send the city trucks by to pick it up.
Yeah, we've done it two different ways. And if I remember right, it cost us about $30,000 to do.
Yeah.
1 year they sent trucks by, skids, steers, everything. Second year they set out roll-offs, and maybe the dump might have something. But the thing was, they left them there overnight. People would throw. So you really got to do it here, and then when you're done, take it.
What about if I throw this out? Why don't we work with the county and get free dumping?
Well,
And then you take that. We did that in the past because I remember sitting in line out there. Basically, you take your own stuff out and dump, and we would cover the. We have because I took my father-in-law out there one year.
I don't
And
think
that
we'll ever
works
have it
great
now.
for a lot of people, but I would say at least half of the people that would like to clean up their yards are probably not going to have access to a truck or a way to haul their trash.
And you got to really think because they're not going to waive municipal waste because they have to pay for that. They'll
Well, that's what I'm
waive-
saying with city trucks, though, with our agreement we have with them on the landfill. And I don't know if that would reduce that number from the 30,000 you had brought up, since we do have.
I mean, are you talking C&D or are you talking about municipal solid waste? Because there's a.
I'm
difference
talking
of what
about sofas. Stuff. I mean, I know there's a transfer station out there, and I know if you go to the top of the hill, stuff like that can go. So, if you could just look at that, Brad. I didn't want to get into a full blown discussion on
No,
it
it's
tonight,
okay.
but I mean,
We've thrown it around.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple
last couple years. And it hasn't.
And then I've been talking to some folks, and I'd mentioned it to Brad, and I'm expecting some paperwork on it. But I'd like to take a look at for capital equipment investments for some of these vehicles that we have on the list. Maybe looking through a leasing program, through like Enterprise. I know there's a couple of municipalities using those. You can get the vehicles quicker, and long term, it actually can save you some money. And that type of program. So when I get that, I'll share that with Brad and see if it's feasible or not. But I know we got a lot of vehicles that are needed. It's on that capital equipment list that was out there, and this could be the more sensible way to do it. Because what I'm hearing also is that rather than being a year and a half out, some of these municipals working with this leasing program are getting their vehicles in 60, 90 days.
We did it. I've done it before.
Okay. And then again, we've talked about the codes work session already. So as soon as we're done, we can go into the executive session. That's all I got.
All right.
And you can have this back.
Bet you didn't want me to wear it.
I didn't want it over here either.
Commissioner Harrington.
Spring break starts this Friday for school, so be aware of children out running, playing. Weather's nice. Congratulations to the Fort Scott Community College boys basketball game. They won. They are playing in Olathe on Friday against Johnson County Community College at 6 p.m. in America, of a mutual location. Congratulations to the Fort Scott High School basketball kids. The girls did pretty good, just not the turnout that we wanted. That was a good game. Lucky shots.
At the buzzer.
It was at the end. And then I just want to reiterate, we don't get the reconciliation to pay for our first responders or fire department, EMS, teachers. There's a big gap between education, what they do for all of us, our kids. So I think it's a good stepping stone to move forward with getting the correct pay that they need. Being the first ones to be out in those events and helping people.
Josh.
Yeah, two things. Golf marshal. I don't know how, if there's anything we can do tonight to make that a reality. If we need to, Bobby, help me, if we need to create that a certain position, or if that's just another labor set of pay scale.
What we need to do is look at hiring for it because it's going to be a part-time job, and we'll do it on the weekends, the busy times. So hire somebody that wants to come and work, because to put somebody in there basically for a pass, that's going to be a tough job. It's going to be a little tougher than we probably think, because once you start getting a little bit of liquid courage in you and you go and tell them you can't play in a big group and this and that, there could be some confrontation and some, even though I've heard, hey, you just kick them out, it's not that easy for somebody that isn't working there. So we need to probably do some thinking. I'll get with Bob and make sure we have all of our,
And I'm good
because
with
insurance
paying
also.
them. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can, and I just don't want it to become and not that it happens, but I don't want it to become a fluff job where they're there 34 hours a week. So I don't know if we can just say.
Well, it's just going to be 2 days a week.
Okay.
That's
Well,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I think I don't go out there as much. I don't play, so I don't know, but I guess the weekends are probably the busiest.
Yeah.
I think
And
there's
so,
another, not an incident, but something out there over Saturday or Sunday, that
yeah,
could have been handled, with.
it could have been handled with some golf etiquette.
Yes.
I mean, that's the big thing.
I'm sure that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and I just thought had opportunity to judge the youth entrepreneurial competition today, and 18 good people put out there, to get a scholarship. But it got me thinking. A couple years ago, I reached out to see if the school would entertain the idea of maybe setting one or two students on the commission as ex officio, just kind of for advice and just see it. I don't know if that's something the commission would entertain. Yes, no, I mean, put them, come to the meetings, and just kind of I had with the old principal, we were working out a deal a couple years ago, and then she left, and I don't know if that's something that would even be, maybe not, so, but just think about, and that's it.
Right. She talked about that. He talked about that. Anyway, the only thing I'm going to ask about right now is the right of way on Cooper Street.
Mm-hmm.
It is my understanding that there is a fence on the south end of Cooper Street on the east side of the road that is built in the city's right of way.
I'd have to measure
Okay.
to make sure.
I would like us to get with the county to get a layout of that and to find exactly where the right of way is, because I believe that fence is built in the right of way and it needs to be moved. So
Wasn't that an issue when this first started a few years ago?
I believe it was, but they never addressed the fact that the fence was built in the right of way. They were trying to get the property from the person, and the person was not willing to sell the city the property to make the road straight. But my thing is that I believe the fence is built within the right of way, and it should be at least 10 feet back from where it is, which would then allow us to build the road straight. So, just like to get it looked at before we finish up the road.
Yep.
All right. Who is ready to call the executive session?
I move the city commission recess, in an executive session for the purpose of the financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trust, and individual proprietorships exception in KSA 754319B4. We will meet in this room, and present will be the 5 city commissioners, the city manager, and the city attorney for 15 minutes, which will leave us, should be done here at 9:48.
Josh Jones, Tim Van Hookie.
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington, Matthew Wells.
Yes.
we live?
I hit the button. It should be out in this thing.
All right. Move to come out of executive session.
Tim Van Hook,
Yes.
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 Move to adjourn.
Oh,
Second.
No. Bob, did you? Okay.
Oh, sorry, Bob.
I do want to tell you, I've been here a while. I enjoy working with you more than any commission I've ever worked with. Because you get some stuff done. And that's kind of nice.
Well, thank you, sir. We like working with you too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All rise. Yes.
oh, he didn't take the